Hi, I'm Chris Haroun, and this MBA degree program is not what you think it is. It's better. This program is more than 25 years of business experience, all rolled into one easy-to-access online program. I've sold over 1 million courses in every single country. I've worked at Goldman Sachs. I have an MBA from Columbia University. And I've worked in the venture capital, hedge fund, and consulting industries. I've also started many companies, and my courses have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, CNN, and NBC. If you're ready to nail your next interview, get a better job, get a raise, start that business you've always dreamt of, improve the one you currently run, or better manage your personal finances, then this MBA degree program is for you. I can't begin to tell you how comprehensive this program is. It's got everything, including more than 300 hours of on-demand video. I would have to do one of those dramatic opening title crawls from a certain space movie just to show you. And check out all the amazing reviews from students who have already enrolled in this MBA degree program. And because you can access this program from any device, meaning a desktop computer or a laptop computer or a tablet or even your smartphone, it means you can comfortably fit it into your schedule. Even if you work full-time, it's no problem. So if you're ready to unlock the key to your potential, then I'll see you in class. Good morning and welcome to our 101st weekly call. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before in all 100 previous weeks, welcome back. And so the way the call works is this is an AMA, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions. You can ask me personal questions. You can ask me career questions. And the call ends in 3 hours. And what my team does is after the call is done within 24 hours, in order to save you time going through the entire call to find relevant questions to you, what my team does is they actually transcribe the whole thing so that if you go to the description field within 1 day of this live call being over, you can get immediate access to any questions just by clicking on them. So without further ado, let's begin, and thank you as always. As always, I had a great vacation. I went away to Tahoe with my family. It was amazing. The only thing that broke my heart was that less than 10% of people were wearing masks. I just don't get it. I really don't understand why people don't wear masks. It's really inconsiderate, and it's selfish too. So anyway, God willing, we all get through this crisis sooner rather than later. Okay, let's move on to questions. And by the way, this Saturday, the 15th of August, is the final day that you can submit your application for early admissions to our premium MBA degree programs. For more detail, just go to my website, harouneducation.com. Thank you. Or ask here even. Yeah. All right, first question is from Sid, who's saying, hi, Chris. I hope you're doing great. Likewise, thank you. Thank you for answering my questions in the previous webcast. You're most welcome. And Kim is saying, hi, Chris. Welcome back. Hope you're well and had an excellent break. I did, thank you. I did. I got to reconnect with my kids and with Christine as well. I've been working crazy hours just doing this MBA degree program, and it was needed. It was needed, yeah. And Kim has a couple questions. Kim is saying, some questions for this week. You're most welcome. What type of teleprompter do you recommend? Yeah. So I use a professional version. It's tough for you to be able to see it right now, because I'm actually looking right through it. And what I do is I'll show you the model that I ordered. But what I recommend you try out first, and this is what I did for about 5 years before I got this one. What I recommend you do first is go onto eBay, which I've done a couple of times, and purchased those OEM screens that you see that go into cars. It's about $100 used. I bought a bunch of used ones. Then what you can do is you can buy see-through mirror, okay, which is what I'm looking at right now. So I'm looking at a reflection actually of a screen below it. And the reason why the colors aren't getting messed up is because I have the screen reversed so that everything is black except the text is white. And for all of you in YouTube right now, and you're watching the questions, you'll see the text is black for you and the background's white. If I make the background white, watch what happens. Hold on a second. You see that, how it gets all blurred out? Because what happens is too much light is going into the camera. So I recommend that you buy an older OEM product initially. But let me go to Amazon and see if I can recommend one to try for you. All right, give me 1 second here. I changed my room around here. I moved myself a little bit farther back. I want to mix it up, try something new. All right, so let's go to Amazon Teleprompter. And if you want high-end ones, I recommend going directly to B&H. So if you just want to use your iPad or an iPhone, these actually work out quite well. This one here for an iPad as well. And there's a company called Prompter People. They make great equipment. Now, this here is a little bit higher end, but it's also for an iPad. You can also get iPhone ones as well. And Sasha Stevenson, who is a YouTube superstar in Indonesia. We made a course together called the Complete YouTube Course. She used, I think it was a $70 prompter that looked something like this here. See here? And she put her iPhone on it. Now, if you want something that's higher end, I recommend going to B&H, which is a wonderful camera store in New York City. And simply go and search for Teleprompter. They're just like Amazon, but they'll talk to you on the phone forever and give you help and match Amazon's prices. But you can go through here. If you want to connect a laptop to it or a computer, you might want to try this one out here, where you can actually put your laptop on its side. I've angled it below as well. It's a little bit tricky, but you can get it done that way. But if you want like a really, really high-end version, a version that the pros use or politicians, it's going to cost you a lot more, and it's outside of my budget. But all you'd have to do is sort by price, high to low, and I'll give you some examples here. That's too much money, whatever the hell that is, yeah. But if you scroll through, you'll get into the $2,000 range at some point here. And then you'll be able to find out which ones work exceptionally well. Yeah, so here are the ones that the pros use right here. So you've got a teleprompter on both sides, and that's why you'll see politicians sometimes turn their whole body when they're talking. It's very unnatural, but Trump does this. So he's reading a teleprompter. That's why he goes like this, right? You're supposed to do what I guess Obama, and it's not a political thing, whatever, but I think Obama's the best public speaker alive today. He's amazing. But what he would do is he would use it just for cues, and he'd use his hands a lot, and then just not read the entire thing. So if you're curious about that, just do a search for probably the best political speech ever given, at least in my lifetime, which was by Obama in the 2004 DNC convention when John Kerry was running for president. And I think that Obama's speech was much, much better than John Kerry at that point in time. And had Obama not given that speech then, it was a wonderful speech, a lot of people think he might not have become president. Yeah, it was amazing. But watch how he uses hands. He gestures a lot. He looks both ways. He didn't really read it from a teleprompter much because he was very good at going off script. Yeah. And the most heartwarming speeches I find are the ones where you go off script, where you just speak from your heart. And the late, great Ronald Reagan, what he did in Germany in 1989 at the Brandenburg Gate was he went off script. And he said in front of the Berlin Wall, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." And the wall tumbled like a year or two later, whatever it was. It was amazing. But he went off script. And his speechwriter, one of which was Colin Powell at the time, was furious with him for going off script. But he spoke from his heart, and just a handful of words, tear down this wall, change the world. And for more details on how to give a great speech, you can just go to my website or go to Udemy and search for presentation course. I have a very long, complete presentation course. Yeah. All right. Let's see if anybody's complaining about quality. No, we're good. Okay, great. Excellent. All right. Next up, on your Udemy presentation course. Oh, speaking of the presentation course, on your Udemy presentation course, you mentioned you use Siri to throw content into Microsoft Word on an iPhone. Can you please demonstrate or explain this more? Yeah, absolutely. So what I would do, and I love going on long walks. And Steve Jobs, God bless him, but when he was still with us, he used to go on long walks in the afternoons. And sometimes he'd go by himself, sometimes with Walt Mossberg, who wrote a great book about him. And sometimes he would go with his best friend, Larry Ellison. And he would come up with his best business ideas when he went on walks. And the reason is because you're releasing serotonin in your brain, and your heart is rewarding you. And so what I do when I create a lot of my content or my speeches is I use Microsoft Word. So what you can do is, and you don't have to use Word, you can use any desktop application as well. So I open up Microsoft Word here, and then what I do is I just kind of dictate to it notes whenever I come up with an idea. So it's something like this. Or hold on a second. When you click on the keyboard here, hold on a second. When you click the keyboard, you can start typing, right? So you go, I have an idea about giving a speech about getting rid of poverty in East Palo Alto. Okay, and that appears right there, just as text. And I have a lot of unstructured text in these Word documents. And sometimes for some of my courses, I have 1,000 pages. It's crazy of content like that. Then what I do is, and it's very unstructured and disorganized. Then what I do is I go through all that content and I'll kind of drag and drop things and put them into different buckets and tag them as H1 headings and H2 headings in Word and H3. Then I'll insert a TOC, table of contents field at the beginning, and then I'll update it, and then everything will be structured. And my heading 1s become sections for a course, and my headings 2s become lessons for each section. And then you can drag and drop each section and lesson if you want to, using the outline view feature in Microsoft Word, which is really helpful. Okay. All right. Next question is, what are your views on Malcolm Gladwell's book, David and Goliath? I remember you'd sort of mentioned it in one of my previous webcasts. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. And so Malcolm Gladwell is this brilliant writer from Toronto. That's where I'm from. In his book, David and Goliath, it's not a religious book, but it's basically a discussion on how the underdog can always win. And we all love the underdogs, especially when we watch movies. The underdog usually wins in movies. And the way that the underdog can win, there's several ways. Number one, they practice for 10,000 hours. And Gladwell's talked about this in a couple of his books. And if you practice anything for 10,000 hours, you will be the best on the planet at that. And that's why a lot of people that go into the Olympics, when they're 20 or high teenagers, they've already practiced 10,000 hours. What he also talks about is how some people that are misdiagnosed or diagnosed with something, they were told from a younger age that they're not good enough. It makes them work harder to become much more confident. And so I'll give you examples. So Steven Spielberg, he was diagnosed with dyslexia. And also John Chambers, who's now chairman emeritus of Cisco, and he used to be the CEO of Cisco forever. He was also diagnosed with that. So was Pablo Picasso and many, many other people that have become incredibly successful. And so I think that if somebody is telling you that you're not good enough or there's something wrong with you, I mean, first of all, they're wrong, but embrace that frustration and prove them wrong. And I found that in the venture capital space, a lot of times the best entrepreneurs that start great companies are the ones that were told there was something wrong with them when they were younger, or they were picked on, and they just want to prove the world wrong. And I had the luxury of sitting down with one of the most senior partners at Sequoia, a guy named Doug Leone. And I talked to him one-on-one for an hour and a half. And I mean, he's brilliant. He's probably the best venture capitalist on the planet, along with Peter Thiel. But I asked him, what kind of people do you like to hire and invest in? And I'm going to butcher this, but I'll paraphrase it somehow. But he said he likes to invest in people that want to prove the world wrong for whatever reason it is. And so and it's not about money, because if it is about money, they won't put their dent in the universe. In fact, what will happen is they'll start a company and maybe sell it for only a couple $100,000 or $1 million instead of trying to become a multi-billionaire. And so there's a great example of this, which is Elon Musk, who I really, really like a lot. I respect him. But when he was younger, actually growing up in South Africa, he was picked on a lot and beaten up as well. And so for him, it's not about money. It's about kind of putting his mark on society and making the world a better place. I mean, the guy's even talking about colonizing Mars now. And so if you were misdiagnosed, or people told you that there's something different or wrong about you growing up, instead of letting that destroy your confidence, I want you to embrace it and prove the world wrong. Prove the world wrong. And those are the best people to invest in, because they don't want to sell their company for just a small amount of money. They never want to sell their company. They want to change the world. And in venture capital, we always say that the jockey is more important than the horse. Ideas are commodities, but execution is not. And the best people to invest in are those that have a chip on their shoulder and they want to prove the world wrong. Now, for me personally, and I'm completely transparent, I always am to a fault. But when I was younger, growing up in Canada, in the 6th grade and in the 8th grade, teachers wanted to fail me. And they recommended that I go to this learning disability center, which is on Lakeshore Road in Oakville, Ontario, a place called Chisholm. And it destroyed my confidence. It really, really did. And I think the role of a teacher, just like the role of a parent, and my parents are awesome, the role of a teacher, like the job of a parent, is to instill a sense of confidence in their students or their children, for that matter. And so that killed my confidence. And then what happened was, like, my grades were terrible. It was awful. And then by the 8th or 9th grade, I think it was 9th grade, my dad bought me a Macintosh back in the 80s. And that changed my life, because I realized that, hey, I'm passionate about something finally. I love technology. It's fun for me. So anyway, in hindsight, am I glad that all of that happened? I'm not unhappy that it happened, but I do want to prove the world wrong, or at least those teachers, that I can make it, because I do speak gooder than them now. Just kidding. Yeah. Yeah. But my parents are great. My parents are great. And as Confucius said, find an occupation you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So just find your passion and ignore everybody. Ignore everybody, because everybody's wrong and you're right when it comes to your life. You know, who is somebody to tell you what you should do with your life anyway, right? You've only got one shot at all this. Yeah. All right. And by the way, I recommend you check out, I gave a speech that I'm humbly very proud of. I gave the graduation speech at San Francisco State. And I did talk a lot about David and Goliath in that speech. So let me show you, actually. If you go to YouTube and then just go search for my name there, on my YouTube page, if you scroll down, you'll see there's a number of speeches. So here, keynotes and speeches. Watch this one here. It's called Graduation Speech by me at San Francisco State University. And I talked about David and Goliath a lot. And it was a really fun speech. And actually, what I did was whoops, sorry about that. What I did was I had my son Andrew record the whole thing right there. Yeah. But check it out. I put the captions up in English, but I also, that's me trying to act cool, big failure. But I also translated it into 10 different languages with captions on YouTube as well. So check it out if you're interested, please, because I do talk a lot about David and Goliath in that speech, and I felt like I was talking directly to my son as well. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, how were you like as a student in school? I promise you, I did not pre-read these. unless they were just published now. No, somebody published that like 2 hours ago, that question. Wow. Okay. So as this, you guys can read my mind. As a student, I underperformed a lot. So the question is, how are you as a student in school? I had terrible grades. It was terrible. They wanted to fail me in the 6th grade and the 8th grade. And it wasn't because I had a learning disability. I think it was because I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. And I hadn't found my passion yet. And I was kind of lost. And then my dad bought me a Mac at the end of the 8th grade as I was going to the 9th grade. That changed my life because I loved using it. It was so much fun for me to interact with a computer. You know, that's why I have all this technology equipment here right now. I was actually inspired by my dad. And by the way, if you're curious how I'm doing this, you can see my feet here, my socks. I plugged in a bunch of pedals and I mapped the keys to my USB ports so that my computer thinks that each one of these down here is actually a keyboard. Yeah, but I was a terrible student until I found my passion, which was computers. And then my dad bought me my first Mac, and then my grades improved a lot, and I started enjoying life a lot more because I found my passion. So I don't think you can do exceptionally well in life or in school in the long run unless you love doing what you're doing. And as Confucius said, find an occupation you love and you'll never work a day in your life. So how do we know what occupation is best for us? Well, the test I like to use is this. Let's say that you're at home and you're not allowed to travel and you're not allowed to go to work for a month. And you can't do school either. What are you going to do with your time? Whatever that is what your profession should be. That's what your passion should be. And don't listen to anybody else. I don't care who they are, tell you what you can and cannot be. And it's not their life, it's yours. You got one shot at this. And I find that people that, and I had perfect parents, are the best. But I find that people in general that try to please their parents and live their lives to please their parents end up being miserable. And quite often there could be therapy bills later in life. Because when you have small kids, you have small problems. But when you have big kids, you have big problems. And so I always humbly encourage parents to encourage their kids to do whatever their kids want to do. Because what happens is if you chase money, you lose your money and your dreams. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail at least a couple of times, please fail at least a couple of times, then I promise you they come true. You just got to say, screw it, let's do it, as Sir Richard Branson says, and just march to the beat of your own drum and do what you want to do. It's your life. And along the way, if people criticize you, I want you to think of that great Dr. Seuss quote. And with my kids, actually, it's so awesome. So I got 3 boys. And when I read this guy, at least, a story at bedtime, sometimes I feel like the authors are talking to me as well. Because I was reading a Dr. Seuss book to Dylan. And Dr. Seuss said, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. So I want you to pick your own career and not try to please anybody else, ever. I promise you, if you follow your passion, and you fail a bunch of times first, and you're cool with that, you'll become ridiculously successful and happy as well. The worst thing that can possibly happen to us is we wake up one day and we're much, much older, and we didn't pursue our dreams. And we don't want to get out of bed, because if we get out of bed, we go to work for this dude that's paying us this much money to make their dreams become a reality. I don't want that to happen to you or any of my students. I'm here to humbly help if I possibly can. I want to help you reach your full potential in life. And you can check out all of my business courses on my website or on Udemy for more details on how to achieve your goals. And the crux of my MBA degree program is I want to teach students about business concepts that are not theoretical. I love teaching students how to become much more successful by using real life practical concepts that I've used in my life. And just like Michael Jordan, I have to be, my Canadian humility's got to come out here. Michael Jordan said, I failed, oh, the camera's moving. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. Yeah. And in my MBA degree program that had, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a venture capital boot camp as well, where I teach you, based on my experience in venture capital and helping out at boot camps in my career, where I teach you how to start a company as well. So for more details on my MBA degree program and my courses, just go to my website, please, which is harouneducation.com, with all of my MBA degree programs, the entry-level ones and the premium ones, as well as with all my courses. There's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. So you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right. Next question is, how does somebody find their life's purpose? Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. It took me till my 40s, actually, to realize it. I was doing stupid things like chasing money, trying to impress other people. I worked on Wall Street at Goldman Sachs. I then worked at a big hedge fund called Citadel. I worked in venture capital. I started a lot of companies. And my happiest day was always day one. I'd be like, oh my God, I got the job. Great. I worked in the consulting industry as well. The happiest day would be the first day. And then something would happen, which is it would all go downhill from there. And I thought I was clinically depressed. I did. And I just didn't understand what was wrong with me. Then I realized that I wasn't doing what I love to do. And when I was in my early 40s, this guy named Voss called me. He goes to San Francisco State, and he said, "Hey, we have a panel. Do you want to be on it in class?" And I said, "Sure." I was kind of nervous, but I went up there and I felt alive. And then I started teaching at night, and then eventually, as Sir Richard Branson said, "Screw it, let's do it." I quit venture capital, and I teach full time, and I love it. I absolutely love it. That's kind of my raison d'être, my purpose. I absolutely love it. And so in terms of your question, how do you find your life's purpose? A couple things. Number one, if I give you a month off and you're not working and you're not going to school and you cannot travel, what are you going to do with your time that makes you happy? That's your life purpose. I don't care what anybody else says. That's your life purpose. Don't be a prisoner in your own mind of someone else. Do what you were meant to do on this earth. Do what you love doing. And it's kind of like true love, or the first time you hold your child. The first time you hold your child, there's this, I can't explain it, but for those of you who have kids, you'll know what I'm talking about. The first time you hold your child, you feel this unbelievable amount of euphoria you thought you could never feel. It's incredible. And when you find occupation you love, it's a little bit like that. Not as good, but a little bit like that. It's lightning in a bottle, so to speak, where you get this feeling deep down inside, and you think with your heart, and you realize your purpose on this planet. So whatever makes you happy, that's your purpose. No matter what anybody says, don't live your life to try to, please your friends like I did. Don't be insecure like I was. Just march to the beat of your own drum and do what you love to do, always. Okay. That's what I would say. And we change over time too. So you can I reinvented myself in my early 40s, 8 million years ago. Just kidding. But we change over time too. And it's never too late to start over, because the average life expectancy in the United States now is actually globally, I should say, is 26 years longer today than it was in the 1950s. So that means that you're all 26 years younger than you think. And also, in the United States, the average age of somebody starting a company is over 50. 50 is young, man. I believe there's lots of people watching this webcast right now that are going to make it to 150. I do. So it's never too late to reinvent yourself. And if you're younger and you're working at a company and you hate it, I want you to embrace and love that frustration, because that frustration will lead to you finding a better job or lead you to starting a company. And all the best entrepreneurs in history, they were incredibly frustrated working for somebody else. They were. And then one day, a company they started did exceptionally well, and they quit and did their own thing. And please keep in mind that every entrepreneur that's very successful has failed many, many times. You just haven't heard about the failures. But they never gave a damn. They never gave a damn what other people thought of them. And I want you to be the same way. The next question is, how does one become a billionaire? And what's the downside? Yeah. So that's a tough question. I've never gotten that one. I love it, though. Thank you for asking that. So I think you have to do what you love doing, and you got to be passionate about it, because when you do what you love doing, you're not working 40 hours a week. You're kind of working 100 hours a week because you're thinking about it all the time, even when you're not at your desk. You just got to do what you love doing. And when you do what you love doing, you can run circles around the competition. There's no limits on what your potential is. And so a lot of billionaires that I've met in my life, and I've met many, they got there by doing what they love doing. You know, I met with Bill Gates. He loves software. He eats, sleeps, and breathes it, or at least he did before he and Melinda did this wonderful charity thing they're doing now. But when he was younger, I mean, he was coding all the time. He absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And Elon Musk, he's always loved robotics and space. He loves it. He loves it. He just does what he enjoys doing. And if you're passionate about it, you'll be incredibly successful. You know, Oprah Winfrey, you know, she loves being on talk shows. She loves interviewing people. And people said over and over and over and over and over again she wouldn't make it. She didn't give a damn what they thought. She knew in her heart she was going to make it because she loves it. And she can't fake passion. When you see her, she's passionate about what she's doing. She loves every second of it. She loves inspiring people and helping people. So I think the way to become a billionaire is to do what you love doing. Because if you chase money, you'll lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail many times, and please fail more than many times, your dreams will come true. And the money will follow accidentally. It always, always does. And for those of you that have not yet seen the Michael Jordan documentary, it's 10 episodes on Netflix. Please watch it. It's amazing. I mean, this guy is incredible. I've got a poster here from him that says, "I failed over and over again in my career, and that's why I succeed." And MJ didn't make his high school basketball team either. He didn't care what people thought of him. He didn't care. You know, and actually, speaking of being a billionaire, he makes more money every year now as a retired former NBAer. He makes more money every year right now in endorsements than he did every penny he made in his entire career when he played basketball. Do what you love doing, and the money will follow. And ignore everybody else that tells you to go down a different path. Listen to your heart. You've only got one shot at this. Next question is Konstantinos is saying, yeah, that's right. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I think I got it right. Yeah. The question is, great to have you back, Chris. Thank you. That's great to be back. Thank you. Hope all is well. Likewise. What are your thoughts on Microsoft buying TikTok? Yeah. So I think that, so when I ask my kids, I have 3 kids and they're just like me. They love video games. I'm a gamer. I don't care. I am. I'm playing MLB The Show right now on my PS4. It's great. But when I ask my kids, what is Microsoft? They say, oh, that's the video game company, right, Dad? So the younger generation thinks of Microsoft as a video game company, not as an enterprise software company as much. And so Microsoft, and I wrote an article about this in Wired Magazine and I think VentureBeat a number of years ago, when they bought Mojang, which is the parent company of Minecraft. I said that was the most important acquisition Microsoft has done since they bought MS-DOS. Hear me out. The reason I said that was because the younger generation, and they're awesome, my kids, they don't know Microsoft as an enterprise software company. They know it as a video game company. And when I was a kid, when I was their age, maybe a little bit older, I programmed on Microsoft platforms. They don't think of Microsoft as a programming platform. And so when it comes to Mojang, the acquisition of Minecraft by Microsoft, using Minecraft, like I see my kids play it, it's kind of like programming because you can create these switches that open doors or fire Lego-based missiles. It looks like Legos at least. And so that's kind of like if-then programming logic. And that coupled with the HoloLens that Microsoft released a number of years ago, I think that's going to morph into some sort of development platform of the future. So instead of using Visual Studio to code C or C++ or whatever people are coding these days, I think a lot of coding is going to be dragging and dropping objects using virtual reality commensurate with what we see with Minecraft. So in terms of Microsoft buying TikTok, so what happens with big companies is organically growth slows over time. It's not their fault. They're just a very big, successful company. It's like the U.S. government. The U.S. government will never grow more than a couple percent per year, because it's just it's 1/3 of the GDP of the planet, right? It's really big. So with Microsoft and with all large software companies, the way to get growth a lot of times is to buy growth, to buy companies. And it's a slippery slope and it's a double-edged sword because companies like Oracle, for example, there's an amazing woman named Safra Katz. And what Safra did at Oracle is she's a brilliant financial engineer. But what she did was she started acquiring a lot of companies for Oracle. And it's dangerous because what happens is when you buy a big company, it looks like you grew a lot, right? Wall Street loves it. But then 1 year from now, the year-over-year comparison gets difficult. So what happens? You have to buy another company. And so you become a serial acquirer of companies, and integration could be an issue of these deals. Now, Oracle's done a decent job of integrating a lot of the acquisitions, like PeopleSoft, Hyperion, BEA, etc. However, there's been some missteps, like when Oracle bought Sun Microsystems in early 2000 and I think it was 2009. Yeah, it was early 2009, and they bought BEA in 2008. They do a big one every year. But when they bought Sun Microsystems, they didn't realize how hard it is for software salespeople to sell hardware. And so Sun Microsystem makes Solaris workstations and software as well. And so the salespeople at Oracle, they had problems selling hardware, the Sun Microsystems hardware, because they were software salespeople, right? But it gets tricky from an integration perspective. But these big companies, they have to buy other firms. Otherwise, it will look like growth went negative. And speaking of Microsoft, so Microsoft bought LinkedIn, as you all know, a number of years ago. And I think it was the summer of 2016. And it broke my heart because I love the stock. I owned it for a while. Love the company. But what happened was this. Let me take a step back and talk about LinkedIn. So LinkedIn was a very successful company on its own. Incredible company. And I really thought that it was going to have $1 trillion market cap one day. And so I owned a lot of it. I loved it. And my earnings estimates 10 years out showed that the company was only trading at 1 or 2 times my earnings estimate. I don't look at the street's estimates. Then what happened was they bought Lynda, right? And so when LinkedIn bought Lynda, at first it looked great, right? And Lynda, they paid over $1 billion for it. That's LinkedIn Learning now. It looked great. But a year later, the year-over-year comparisons were tough for LinkedIn. They were hard, right? And LinkedIn didn't have the balance sheet that Microsoft or other big tech firms did to keep becoming a serial acquirer. So the year-over-year comparisons 1 year after the Lynda deal looked pretty bad. And they had some other issues with execution, minor ones. And so they missed a quarter. And so what happened was when they missed that quarter, the stock dropped a bunch. And it was a broken stock, not a broken company. And I love buying broken stocks, but not broken companies. And so Microsoft swooped in and bought them on the cheap. which is a brilliant acquisition by Microsoft. Hopefully they can continue to innovate with it, because usually when big companies buy smaller ones, they destroy innovation of that smaller company, unless they let it run separately, like Zuckerberg has brilliantly done with Instagram and WhatsApp to a lesser extent. So when it comes to Microsoft with TikTok, it's a little bit dangerous, because, and Satya Nadella, he's brilliant, and he's the right choice to be CEO of Microsoft, because he kind of invented the cloud division at Microsoft, the Azure division they call it, which competes with Amazon Web Services. He's very diplomatic too, and he's a good dude. I have friends that know him. He's a good guy. But I think by trying to buy TikTok, he might ruffle some feathers with certain government agencies, so to speak. But what if they can somehow spin it into a way to make it more secure, so that there's not as many issues with three-letter government agencies in the United States when it comes to TikTok, then it might work out well for them. It might work out well. But as a TikTok user, and I love it, and with my kids, at least my middle one, what we'll do is at night we'll say prayers and we'll watch TikTok. It's fun because we're bored in the house. But one thing I do worry about is innovation dying. You know, kind of like when Twitter bought Vine, it died. And Vine was an amazing asset. It was basically TikTok for shorter videos, but there's misexecution. And so a lot of times when big companies buy smaller companies, innovation dies, which is frustrating. And I hope that's not the case with Microsoft buying TikTok. And we used to joke in Silicon Valley, when I used to work in the hedge fund industry, we used to joke that Hewlett-Packard is where software companies go to die. Because Hewlett-Packard would buy a lot of software companies, and HP was the 5th biggest software company on the planet, actually, their software acquisitions, back in 2006 or 7 or so. But they bought so many great companies like Mercury Interactive, a great testing software company based out of Tel Aviv. They bought so many great companies that just their products haven't really seen any innovation. So I always do worry about innovation dying when large companies buy smaller companies. But as much as I criticize Facebook, and I shut down my Facebook business account recently for ethical reasons, I don't want to be there. And that's another topic. But what I will say is that what Mark Zuckerberg does better than anybody else in tech is he integrates acquisitions the right way. So what he does is when they buy a big company like Instagram or WhatsApp, they actually leave it as a separate entity for a long time. And then eventually, once the subscriber numbers grow a lot, then they integrate it and make it a Facebook product, which is what we've seen with Instagram. The only way to make M&A work well for big tech companies without destroying innovation is to not fully integrate those subsidiaries. Okay, next question is, can your networking book help me network with thousands of people? I think so. So I'll show you what Sid's referring to. So I have, if you go to my website, HarounEducation.com, I have a free book on how to network to get anything you want. It's a couple hundred pages. It's free. Again, go to HarounEducation.com. And it's got several hours of YouTube videos clickable through this as well. And I believe that that your network is your net worth, and that relationships are more important than product knowledge. And so it's up to you to network a lot after reading the concepts in my book. But I promise you the concepts I teach in my free book, they work. And I put my reputation on the line saying that too. Next question is, you said that you like to hire people that are poor, smart, and hungry. What are the characteristics of those people? Yeah. So they're not entitled. They might have been born with a crappy set of cards in life, and they're motivated. They're really, really motivated as well. Those are the type of people that I love to hire. And the people I like to hire are also the ones that don't see it as a job. They see it as a passion. So anyway, those are some of the characteristics I look for. But I do love hiring people that are poor, smart, and hungry, especially those, kind of like my students. I give away a ton of scholarships, and I gave away 1 million courses in the month of March because of COVID. I saw my business pick up, and I felt guilty. So I gave away 1 million free courses, and I had hired people to help out with Q&A and customer support, but I don't care. But I wanted to help those that, couldn't really, they're having a hard time because of COVID, and they live in tight quarters. Like in Egypt, for example, and my father's Egyptian. I've never been there. I'd love to go one day. But I worried about Egypt a lot when COVID first, was headline news. I worried because 100 million people in Egypt, they all live close to the Nile for obvious reasons. I was worried about COVID. And so of those 1 million courses I gave away for free in the month of March, about 70,000 came from Egypt. And that was just from me doing one little LinkedIn post about, hey, my courses are free for a couple days. Yeah. So, but I want to help. I want to help anybody that's poor, smart, and hungry. And that's one of the reasons I teach as well. I love doing what I'm doing. And even with my MBA degree program, the entry-level one is $499, 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. It's cheap. What if I don't make money on it in the long run? I don't care. I just want to help. Okay. Next question is, do employers care where people went to school? And why does it seem like a lot of successful people went to the best schools, but there are fewer that went to regular schools? Yeah. So I think you're only as good as your last game. And I think that big corporations are starting to realize the absurdity of business school and undergraduate education. If you do an undergraduate education at a decent school, you only have 13 hours of class a week. It costs $100,000, and you learn theoretical crap you can't apply in the real world. The same thing with business school. A lot of business schools teach concepts that made sense literally last century, and they don't teach stuff that's going to help you immediately in the real world. And I pride myself on teaching stuff that's not theoretical. In my MBA degree programs, I teach you how to sell, how to interview, how to raise a ton of money, how to start companies. Ask anybody that's graduated from business school the day after they graduate, ask them, so do you know how to start a company now? I also teach how to present and many other skills as well. If you're curious about the MBA degree program and the different versions of it, you can go to my website, harouneducation.com. But I do think that a lot of companies are starting to realize how ridiculous, conventional business education is. In fact, there are companies, and God bless them, like Google, as well as Apple, Wells Fargo, IBM, etc. Those aforementioned companies and many, many more do not require a university education anymore. Those rules are changing. Yeah. And Ray is saying, hey, Chris, welcome back. I missed your weekly webcast. Thank you. It's great to be back. And Ray is asking, what would be the minimum amount in a long position you would advise, having in mind the taxes of ETFs and taxes of buying stocks? $3,000 US. And then you wrote, when the amount of money would have to be $10,000, then maybe distribute those into 20 positions, 5% each. Yeah. So the way I think of it, I don't think of it on a dollar basis or currency basis. What I think about is risk management based on a percent of each investment you have as part of your liquid net worth. I'll give you an example. So let's say that your liquid net worth, meaning not including your house, which is the best investment you'll ever make. Let's say that your net worth, after deducting all debt and not including your house, your net worth is $100. I don't think you should put more than $5 or 5% into any one investment. I think you have to diversify and have a minimum of 20 positions and diversify in terms of stocks, bonds, commodities. And then if you want to buy more real estate, you can think about buying REITs, real estate investment trusts, where by law, they have to pay out 90% of their profits as dividends. So that's what I would check out. And if you're curious, you want to learn more about it, take my complete financial analyst course. you can go to my website and find it there. Or sign up for my MBA degree programs where I go into a ton more detail on how to invest. Yeah. The next question is, you've mentioned which cryptocurrencies you own. Are you willing to share what stocks you own? No, I'm not. I'm not, sorry. Yeah. Because I want to empower everybody to be able to pick their own stocks. And if I gave you advice on what stocks to buy, I don't want you to take it. I want you to do your own research always. Always. Because if you don't, then what happens is you end up selling at the worst time. You panic. And Warren Buffett said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Think about that. Selling something you love because it's cheaper. And so if you do your own research and you really feel good about a position, and you do a write-up and make a financial model, which I teach in my MBA degree program, if you do that, then you won't be a tourist. You won't be renting stocks. You'll sell when the stock hits your target price. You got to be careful when it comes to taking other people's opinions, especially when it comes to stocks. And when you watch financial television, please don't. But if you do, don't ever invest in a company after you see a money manager or a CEO of a company say good things about a stock. I'm not saying they're unethical, but they're the best salespeople on the planet, and that's how they got to where they are. Always do your own research and always realize that there's a bias whenever somebody else is talking about a stock on television. Next question is, I want to understand technology, but it seems very difficult, and I feel like a dinosaur. I'm smiling because when I used to go out with my buddies for dinner and the check would come, I would go, oh, look at me, I have Tyrannosaurus Rex hands. I can't get my wallet. Yeah. And it's tough for T-Rex to do push-ups too, Yeah. But you wrote, I feel like a dinosaur. Each time I decide to listen to a podcast or read an article, it's filled with terminology that I don't understand. What would you recommend? I have only 1 to 2 hours per day for that. Oh, I've got a great solution. Oh, you're going to love this. Okay. So my favorite podcast. So I've been listening to podcasts since they were released by Apple in July of 2005. My favorite podcast to listen to is one called TWIT, which stands for This Week in Tech. And TWIT is created and owned by this great guy. What's his name again? John C. Dvorak is one of his partners that comes in. Leo Laporte's the guy's name. That's right. The older I get, the better I was. I had a senior moment there. But Leo Laporte is the guy that broadcasts TWIT, This Week in Tech. He broadcasts it every Sunday, and it hits or it drops onto the podcast machines every Monday morning. It's about 2 hours, and that's enough for you to kind of get a high-level understanding of consumer tech, especially. And once you get the tech bug and you learn a little bit more about consumer tech, then you can branch out and start reading about other tech companies that focus on enterprise software or enterprise technology. I would start with TWIT. And from a business perspective, what I used to do was when I used to drive into work at literally 4 a.m. here on the West Coast, to Citadel, big tech hedge fund I worked at the time. What I would do, and there's no traffic, by the way, then obviously. And the reason I had to get to work early like that is because of Wall Street hours on the West Coast. But what I would do is I'd always listen to the Wall Street Journal Tech podcast, which was 5 minutes. And all it was a highlight of all the important tech stories that hit the newspaper that day. So I would start out with those two. Then if you have time to actually read stuff online instead of just listening on your commute, I recommend starting with Engadget, Engadget, Engadget.com, because what they do there is they release stories about consumer tech stuff that's fascinating. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So I would start there with consumer tech. And if you get the tech bug and you love that, then I'd move on to kind of start reading more about enterprise technology companies or listening to earnings calls from big tech companies when they report earnings. Next question is, what are the best programming languages for beginners to learn? What I recommend before you jump into using Python or other more sophisticated programming languages, what I recommend initially to see if you love it is just mess around with Microsoft Excel and go to Visual Basic for applications, like install the developer tab in Excel, and just play around with that to see if you like it. And then maybe look at Visual Basic and mess around with that because it's so much fun, man. You're dragging and dropping objects, and then what you're doing is you're putting a little bit of code behind it. So I would start with that. Then what I would do is I would take a course on Udemy by a brilliant woman named Angela Yu. She has a course on learning about how to make websites. It's like 50 hours long. Go there first because that's quite easy because you start off with HTML and then you might move on to JavaScripting and other languages from there. Then after that, I would take another course by Angela. Let me show you. She's amazing. She puts us all to shame, man, us teachers, because her ratings it's ridiculously high. It's amazing. But let me go here to incognito, and I will search for Angela Udemy. And so Angela used to be a doctor, and she realized she wasn't passionate about medicine, but she loves technology, and so she now teaches tech, and she's great at it too. Yeah, Dr. Angela Yu. So I would take her courses. The first one I'd start with is this one here, the complete web development bootcamp, because that will teach you about HTML and maybe some JavaScripting stuff as well. And if you get the bug and you love that, then I'd move on to another course on how to make apps for iOS, for example. And then she's got a lot of other great stuff. Just take all her courses, and you'll be happy. And she makes it fun too. And it is quite edutaining to take her courses. And I have edutain here on my license plate. I wear my heart in my sleeve. I hope I don't get a ticket for taking it off the front of my car. I'm not driving anywhere these days. Yeah. Next question is from Kim, who's saying, do you have any recommendations on how to stay on top of email? How do you keep organized, sorted, action, etc.? Yeah, I'll show you. Let me go to email right now. I'm an open book. I've got nothing to hide. All right. So let me go to Gmail. All right. So what I do is I'll actually flag things. So starred. You see here? So these here are all these stars, okay, that I have to come back to later. So I really believe that you need to touch hand once, and that's kind of an old school. It's kind of an old school thing. In the old days, before email, you used to get these inter-office memos, piece of paper, whatever, in your inbox, and great business people would say, touch hand once. Only let it touch your hand once. By the same token, when it comes to my emails, I don't open a lot of them, but I deal with them immediately. So when I get up in the morning, the first thing I do, and I got into a car accident years ago, so my back's kind of messed up, but it worked out quite well. I'm actually happy it happened for other reasons, because it guided me down a different path in life. But what I do, because of my back, is I have my iPad hooked up to this stand, and my wife jokes that it's my IV machine. My IV iPad, and it sits above my bed. And so what I'll do is when I wake up, the first thing I'll do is, I'll read a quick passage from the Bible. Then I'll go to Gmail. And when I go to Gmail, what I'll do is I'll answer all emails immediately, and I'll forward them to my staff as well if I want somebody else to take care of something. And if it's something important, I'll star it, which is what I just showed you there within Gmail. I'll star it, yeah. And I can't answer all emails. It's really, really hard. It's tough. I've got over 1 million students. So if I don't respond, please don't take it the wrong way. I'm drowning. I can't keep up. So a lot of my emails, actually, I think most of them now, I don't even open. But I know from the subject line what's important and what's not. Now, what I do on my iPhone is I have favorites as well, so that the second somebody sends an email that's on my favorite list, I'll see it. So anyway, that's what I recommend. But the second you see it, take care of it right away. And you might want to also schedule your life so that the only time you're allowed to check emails is when you're on the elliptical trainer or on the bike at the gym or when you go on walks. And set aside that one time per day when you do that. Yeah, because email, it could take over your life. Yeah. Next question is from Ramon, who's saying, hi, Chris. Welcome back. Thank you. Great to be back. And then you wrote, I hope you had an awesome vacation. I did. Thank you. And vacations are good because it gives you it kind of allows you to get outside of yourself and see the forest from the trees and reassess where you are in life, and your business as well. And so I always make great business decisions when I go on vacation. And so I ended up restructuring my company right at the end of my vacation, which is the right call. And Ramon is saying, I'm now working on my first book. Awesome. And then you wrote, thank you for your template. My pleasure. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what Ramon is talking about, anybody can write a book. And all the books that I've written, including this one that's free on my website, my networking book, what I do is I created a simple template in Microsoft Word. And if you can use Microsoft Word and a browser, then you can write a book. So just go to my website, harauneducation.com/writebook. That's all lowercase, harauneducation.com/writebook. And what you can do is you can click here and download a template that's in 6x9 that you can actually submit to Amazon for free to get a paper book done, or to Kindle for free, which is owned by Amazon, of course, as well as to Audible. I explain everything here on one page right here. Everything you need and all the links that you need. And then you can do it all for free. You might have to spend a couple bucks on somebody on Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, to make the cover of your book, which is what I do. And tip them well as well, please. Yeah. And so all you do is you fill this out. That's it. And in Microsoft Word, as you type in, pardon me, each chapter, you can right click here in Word and update the table of contents as well. So everything is here for you. And all you got to do is know how to use a browser in Microsoft Word. That's it. And I'm humbled to say that I have a lot of students of mine that have written books, and I have a big stack of them here, actually. Yeah. And Fanny, one of my amazing MBA degree program students, in the premium version, she's in the platinum program. She just published a book. I ordered it immediately on Amazon. It hasn't arrived yet, but I will profile it next Thursday because I love doing that. I love to profile books of my students, and you can never send it to me. You just have to tell me it's published, and I'll buy it and I'll profile it here on the air. And the first book that was published by one of my students was last year, or maybe the year before, actually. It's been so long I've been doing these webcasts now. His name is Phil Germany II. And Phil Germany wrote a book called Super Students, which is prophetic because it was the first book from one of my students. And it's about how to play chess. And it's great. You guys should check it out. All right. And then you wrote, with respect to your first book, there was just a slowdown because I'm currently working on 2 consultancy deals. And then you wrote, hopefully I could close both deals so I would be able to join your MBA program soon. Yeah, I'd love to have you, Ramon. Love to have you. Thank you. Yeah. So the early admissions deadline is this Saturday, which is August 15th. So if you're interested, you can go to my website, go to Haroun. I'll show you where it is if you guys are curious about applying. And I'll explain just really quickly how it all works. So if you go to my website here, harauneducation.com, there's 3 versions of my MBA degree program. And by the way, you can go down here and get this networking book for free if you want. There's 3 versions of my MBA degree program. The first version here is called Silver. And the Silver program is actually, it's on demand and you can start immediately today. And it's more than 300 hours of lessons. And there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. No other business school has that. Yeah. And you can start today and you have access to these 300 hours forever. And you can do it in as little as like 6 or 7 months if you just jam through it. Yeah. Then here, this is the gold and platinum versions. They start every year in December and they last 1 year. And I teach my students live. So what I'll do is I'll play a lesson and then I'll do Q&A. And that starts every December. And so the gold version is you get the same lessons, the 300 hours of lessons, or more than actually. It's also, 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. And then you also get over 200 hours of live Q&A, kind of like what we're doing here, but I also do Zoom. And it's really cool because I do it Brady Bunch style, where I have sometimes 9 students on at the same time. Pardon me. Then the platinum version is identical to gold, except you can actually get one-on-ones with me, right? So you have several hours of one-on-ones, either in person, pardon me, either in person here in the Bay Area, or we can use Zoom, whatever works for you. And and I'm much more clear when I'm speaking on it too. Hold on one second. So I've got this opera singers. What they do, I'm not an opera singer, please, is whenever they're having, and I'll come back to the NBA stuff in a second, but oops, hold on a second, yeah. What opera singers do, or musicians in general, when their throat's not working that well, there's something called throat spray 37. It's called Throat 37, and it clears up your throat so you can speak better. It's amazing. So if you have to go to an interview and you've lost your voice or whatever it is, if you're yelling at a sports match or whatever, buy this product. I feel like I'm on the Truman Show. I don't get compensated by any company to ever mention anything. I just want to humbly help if I possibly can. All right, back to my the MBA stuff. So yeah, you get several hours of one-on-one meetings with me as well, and you have to apply. And so the application for early admissions is going to be, the deadline's going to be the 15th. Okay, and then I'll let you know pretty shortly after that if you've been accepted or not. And you can apply to gold or platinum. Yeah. And if you've taken my silver program, and if you get accepted to the gold or platinum version, you'll get $499 off. Yeah. And if you have more questions or you want to read about student testimonials, you can just go here and go to the LinkedIn profiles of all my awesome students that are taking the platinum version. And then you got frequently asked questions here as well. And if the questions aren't answered there, just ask me here during the webcast, please. Or what you can do is you can email admissions@harounventures.com. Thanks. All right. All right. And by the way, with the MBA program, you mentioned you want to join, but you've got a lot of stuff you're doing. You're kind of busy. You can take it on your own terms. You can take 10 years if you want. Sign up for it, get accepted and take classes whenever you want. And I teach it in a couple of different time zones. So I teach live on Monday and Tuesdays for my gold and platinum students. I teach live on Mondays and Tuesdays, starting at 9 a.m. and also starting at 4 p.m. And I've already done, I think I've done about 200 hours of live Q&A with my gold and platinum students already this year. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. And my students are amazing. In the first year of students, I accepted 160 people, and then 2 asked for money back within 30 days, and they got their money back. And my students, the 158, they're from 41 different countries. They've bonded a lot with each other over Slack. They've gotten to know each other, and it's great. And quite often in business school, you learn more from your fellow classmates than you do from your teacher. And I kind of feel like my students in my gold and platinum program are learning a lot more from each other than they are humbly from me. Yeah. Next up is Manas. Hey, Manas, thank you very much for all the social media stuff this week. You're a rock star. Thank you. You wrote, bonjour, monsieur, Haroun. Oh gosh, here comes a little bit of French. This is tough for me. Petit déjeuner. Je veux faire la classe matinée. My French is not that great, although I didn't speak English in school when I was in Canada until the 4th grade. My parents sent me to the Toronto French School. So you wrote, bon jeudi, monsieur. Oh, okay. Good Thursday. Okay. And then you wrote, first of all, I want to thank you for keeping us updated by your vlogs. My pleasure. My pleasure. Then you wrote, I hope all is well likewise. And you wrote, I hope you enjoyed your vacation. Thank you. And you wrote, what did you learn in these 2 weeks? Yeah. I love that question. Thank you. I learn a lot when I go on vacation because what I do is I kind of get outside of myself and I see the forest from the trees because a lot of times you're focusing in your business, but not on your business. And you don't really see the bigger picture when you're in the weeds with your company. And so for me, what happened was I realized that I have to outsource more stuff, right? I love having a very, very small team. And I love outsourcing everything else. And so I hired this unbelievable company called Ziggy Media, based out of Toronto. And Joe and Elon have been awesome. And so they're taking care of all of my active campaign stuff. Now, MailChimp is a product a lot of people use to manage just the email addresses of all their customers. And email is still the gold standard, as old school as that sounds. It's still the gold standard when it comes to getting customers. So they manage it, but not using MailChimp. There's a higher end product that I subscribe to, which I love, called Active Campaign. So I outsourced all of that to them. I also reshuffled a couple of employees because I outsourced stuff. And then I just did a little bit more business planning as well. Yeah. And I made Matt Lacus, who's my amazing chief creative officer. He does all the video editing and stuff. I made him a partner and gave him equity as well. Yeah. It's a good guy. Good guy. All right. Oh, I also learned that a lot of people are selfish because they don't, like when I was on vacation, because they don't wear masks. Over 90% of people that I saw when I was in Tahoe with my family in California and Nevada weren't wearing masks. I just don't get it. I really don't understand. I don't get it. Maybe it's because we have a president that doesn't wear a mask, and maybe the cure for corona will come this November. Ooh, that was political. Sorry. Sort of. Yeah. All right. The question is, what's your opinion on TikTok and Twitter? If Twitter's planning to, if Twitter acquires it, yeah. So I think if there's going to be a trade war, as you wrote here, or a bidding war, Microsoft will win. They've got a much bigger balance sheet, of course. But I think a lot of investors might be a little bit worried with Twitter initially, because Twitter, they kind of butchered Vine. They bought Vine, and for those who are not familiar with Vine, it's just like Twitter. It's just like TikTok, except it's 14-second videos. And it was amazing. And then Twitter bought it and destroyed it. It's gone. It died on the vine. It's my only dad humor of the day, I promise you. So I don't know. I probably have more confidence in Microsoft acquiring the company and integrating it. I don't know how they would integrate it. I just don't know. But I know that Microsoft has had a lot of issues with being innovative outside of cloud software. For example, they tried to compete with Amazon's streaming gaming platform called Twitch, and they signed up this dude Ninja for this massive exclusive contract, and then they shut down their competing product. It's tough. It's tough. So Microsoft's kind of buying their way into the market. Yeah. Okay. Next question is. First of all, sorry that I failed to deliver the book. It's 80% ready. No, Manas, please. I can't wait till it's ready. And when it's ready, tell me on this webcast, and I will order it, and I'll profile it on the air like I always do with my students that write books. Yeah. No need to apologize. But I love the fact that you're doing this, because when a lot of people, when they set a deadline date, the probability of them getting something done goes up significantly. And so 90% of people that come up with New Year's resolutions, 90% give up by the third week of January because they did not set a deadline date. So I think you have to set a deadline date, and you have to vocalize it as well. Because when you vocalize it and you tell your buddies or your family you're writing a book, then every time you see them, they ask, so how's that book coming along? And that's what happened with me with my first book. And if you want a little bit of comic relief, do a search on Family Guy writing book. It's a pretty funny video with Stewie. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote here, In India, copyright takes 90 days. That's pretty fast, actually. And then you wrote, so I think it will get a little bit delayed. Sorry about that. No worries at all. I publish my books first, and then I copyright them, right? I don't do it really to make much money. But that's pretty fast, actually. Really fast. My copyrights here take 6 to 12 months usually. And I've copyrighted a lot of stuff. Yeah. And the courts are backed up, the intellectual property courts. They always have been. That's why when you file a patent, sometimes you'll see patent pending, which is almost as good as the patent's been approved, but not quite. But patent pending means, hey man, the courts are backed up, but I own this. Next question is, can I publish the book with the copyrights being pending? I've been waiting to get your reaction on the book. Yeah. I would talk to a lawyer about that first. And I'm not familiar with the legalities of intellectual property globally, but that's what I would do. I'd wait. And if anybody wants to hire a lawyer, here we go. I can't stand lawyers. Unless you're a civil rights lawyer, then I love you. Yeah. Or if you represent me, then you're cool. Yeah. Because a lawyer is like a taxi driver. If they cut you off and you're driving, you're like, oh my God, I'm mad at them. But if you're in the back of that taxi and you're in a hurry, you love them for being aggressive. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship I have with lawyers. But what I recommend doing is talking to a lawyer. And you can go to LegalZoom.com. And I don't get compensated by them or anybody for mentioning that. But that's what I do. I go to LegalZoom.com and I hire lawyers there because it's really cheap. If it's a personal matter, it's $15 an hour. If it's a business matter, it's like $30 an hour, $30 per half hour for a call. That's pretty cheap for a lawyer. And you can select any type of lawyer you want. Really cheap. $30 for a half hour call. It's amazing. It's amazing. They speak really slowly though. Kidding. Okay. Manas is saying, how do you edit your Udemy courses? I have a PC, so iMovie will not work. Any suggestions? Yeah. So for those of you that have Macs, start with iMovie. That's what I started with my first 20 or so courses. And then I moved on to Final Cut. And now we're using Premiere Pro, which Matt, my amazing Chief Creative Officer, and he made these as well, too, in the background. It's pretty cool, eh? He did a great job of that. So Matt uses Premiere Pro. So that's what I recommend. And you're a student, so you should be able to get the student version of Creative Suite, which is Adobe's platform, kind of like Microsoft Office, but just for graphics and publishing stuff. Yeah, but I would check that out at Premiere Pro. Yeah. All right. Vinay is saying, hey, sir. No, call me Chris, please. Great to have you, Vinay. And I worked with a guy named Vinay Gupta when I worked at Accenture years ago. Really, really good guy. Yeah. And so Vinay is saying, I want to learn about the stock market. Please suggest a course from where I can learn about it. Thank you. Yeah, I would check out. I would check out my. Sorry, I'm throwing for a curve because the next question there, which I'll get to in a second. Sorry. I would check out my complete financial analyst course. You can go to my website and link through and take courses there or on Udemy. Yeah. And you can go to, actually, if you go to learn, I'll show you where you can get all my courses at for $9.99, except for my MBA stuff. Okay. So if you go to, so these here are the links for Udemy, you just for what I have. But I also have a store set up. You can go to learn.harounventures.com. And then here, and you, if you're curious about what the MBA, the sold out version, the platinum version from this year, the one that started last December looks like, click here and there's a lot of free lectures. Yeah. But you can go here and get a lot of my courses. I have bundles as well on sale, and these are all $9.99. Let me actually go to incognito mode so I can show you the real pricing. Learn.harounventures.com. Here we go. Whoops. Oh, I put an A there for some reason at the end. There we go. So learn.harounventures.com. and you'll see all my courses here. I have bundles as well, and everything else. My individual courses are $9.99. Yeah, so you check it out here, and I've got international versions of all my MBA products as well. So you check that out if you're curious. And if you have questions, let me know as always, please. Thanks. All right. All right. Next question is Manas, who's saying, thank you for answering my questions. I'm sorry if they were silly. They're not. Please, you wrote, God bless you and your family forever, and then 8 million prayer icons. And God bless you and your family much, much more. Please. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And Rona is saying, welcome back, Chris. I hope you had a great vacation. I did, thank you. I did, thank you. And I think you're from Ireland, right? If I'm not mistaken, yeah. And my grandmother's part Irish. That's how I got green eyes, and that's why I'm Catholic. Dude, having green eyes is not cool, though. And I'll tell you why. Because when you do, you probably won't be able to see it from here. When you do green screening, it messes up your eyes. And so a lot of actors and actresses, they have green eyes. They have to wear contacts when they do movies. And there's green screen. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Just kidding. Okay, and Dario, how are you, man? It's been a while. That every time I see your name here, I think of a guy who went to business school named Dario, and he used to always say to me, "It's me, Dario." Of course, that's a line from one of the best video games ever, Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64, yeah. So Dario wrote, hi, Chris, I missed you. I missed you more, brother. Then you wrote, I hope your holidays were great. I think you're awesome. Oh, thank you. And then you wrote, have a nice day. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. This is fun for me. This is fun. Yeah. And you'll know that you found your passion in life if when you go on vacation, you really want to do work. You force yourself not to, so you can spend time with family, but you really want to do work because you love it. Yeah. And I certainly do. Next up is Albus, who's saying, hi, Chris, long time. I hope you're doing well. I'm great, thank you. And great to see you here as well. And I tried something different today with this setup. And if for those of you that are curious how I do this, I've got, down here, I set up pedals. And they're kind of mapped just like they're mapped just like keyboards. And so when I hit each pedal, and I use a software called Wirecast to do this, but I map these just like keyboards. So when I hit each pedal, the camera turns on. So look, man, look, Mom, no hands, right? And so I do it in order, so I don't forget, right? So it sweeps from left to right. So we go left, center, right a bit. That's a Sony camera on a slider. Is it moving still? I think it's moving very slowly. Yeah, very slowly on that slider, yeah. Then I've got this one here up top. I got a robotic arm. And then I've got this one here, which is my oldest camera, which I think works best. And the price of the equipment doesn't matter. What matters most of all, is how you know how to use it, right? So my older cameras, I use a lot better than my newer ones, but I use pedals. It's fun, and I'm a nerd. And the look I'm going for with, and let me actually show you here. The look I'm going for with the one that rises up. Hold on a second. With the camera that rises up is, and you can kind of see it here. See here? The look I'm going for is what you see on television shows like the John Oliver Show or whatever it is. I'm an army of one. I do all of this by myself. Meaning that the live call and all this stuff. So I kind of want to empower my students to learn from my millions of mistakes and be able to set up their own studio at home, which I teach a lot in the sales, marketing, and communication classes in the 4th semester of my MBA degree program, which is fun. Yeah. So we're trying to push the goalpost out always. Continuous improvement. Always, always, always. Yeah. Okay. And Shubham is saying, welcome back. Thank you. Great to be back. Can you tell us what are the essentials one should learn while switching industries? Yeah. So I think you should only switch industries if you're more passionate about another industry. Don't do it just for the money. It's got to be something you love doing. And the best way to switch industries, and it's so hard to send in your resume to apply for a job in a different industry that you've never worked in before. So what I recommend doing is download my networking book for free. Go to harouneducation.com, download it for free, and set up a lot of informational meetings with people that work in those industries that have something in common with you. And I teach you how to get meetings in this book. And my success rate on getting meetings with people I've never met before by leveraging LinkedIn is and has always been 95%. And I don't say it to impress you. Rather, I say it to impress upon you the fact that you can do it as well. And my secrets are in this free book, which again, you can download from my website. All right. All right. Next up is Albus is saying, I have a lot of questions piled up. Awesome. Bring them on. Number one, how can we conduct great competitions about business online? Yeah, let me know what you mean about that. Provide me with a little bit more color, and I'll be happy to humbly answer if I can. Yeah. Your next question is, some ideas about online competitors we can create about topics like entrepreneurship. Yeah, so just provide me a little bit more color, please, and I'll humbly answer the questions. Yeah. Okay, next one is, hey, Chris, how do we cope with so much work and stress? I don't think I'm giving a lot of time to myself. I work all day and it's too hectic. Yeah, I love that question. So what I recommend doing is scheduling every day, because if you want to get something done, you give it to a busy person. So what I would do is I would schedule in not only time for work, but also time for family and time for you time. You know, even if it's just half hour a day, watching Netflix or playing video games. Schedule that time for yourself. You do have time, because if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. And we all know that when we go on vacation or we take an extended amount of time off of work or school, that we're just not productive. Stay busy and write down your schedule daily and take off at least one day a week. It's the best investment ever, because you can reconnect with yourself, your family, your friends, etc. And since the beginning of time, you know, people have been talking about taking one day off a week. You know, for me, it's Sunday. For others, it's other days of the week. But we've known, and our forefathers and foremothers, you know, the basis of our legal code is the Ten Commandments. It's the basis for a lot of older religions too. And one of those rules is to rest on the Sabbath, or one day a week. I really think you have to rest one day a week. Otherwise, you won't make it longer term. Yeah, you'll never reach your full potential in life. And you'll actually be much better at your profession if you do that, because you'll be rested and well balanced. And I'll give you a great example. There's this unbelievable baseball player, probably the best pitcher in history. And his name is Sandy Koufax. And this is unheard of, but what he did in baseball, it's almost unheard of in sports, is he would take off one day a week, every week, and he didn't care what the Dodgers thought about that, or anybody for that matter. And he was an amazing player, I think partially because of that. He's also very gifted as well, but he's amazing. He's amazing, yeah. Unbelievable. And if you're a big baseball fan, look at his statistics. It'll blow you away. Way better than anybody playing today. You know, it's that guy and Bob Gibson, which have the most impressive stats. Yeah. But I would schedule every day. So before you go to bed every night, I would schedule each day. And I have an example of it in here. Give me 1 second to get it. Hold on. Yeah. All right. So you can download this from my website. So you just go to harouneducation.com/schedule, and it's all lowercase. I'm sorry you can't see this clearly. but you can download it there. I don't have autofocus on this camera, sorry. But it's HarounEducation.com/ all lowercase schedule, and schedule each day. Schedule each day the night before. Don't do it on weekends because you'll drive yourself crazy. But in this template, you schedule time for you, family, exercise, and your goals up here. A lot of my students use this. It works exceptionally well, I promise you. And I've got a premium version of this as well for my MBA degree program students. All right, put my toys away. How should one decide if they should go for an MBA other than the consideration about getting a job? Yeah. And then you wrote, how do I know if the skills learned in business school are for me? And then how much is an MBA is art and science? Is it a good balance between the two? Yeah, a lot of great questions there. So I would say the only reason to go to a traditional MBA school instead of just doing one online, I think online's better. But the only reason is if you set up a gazillion networking meetings using what I teach you in this book, which you can download from my website for free. If you set up a gazillion networking meetings and you still can't change careers, and before you consider spending $100,000 at a traditional business school, I want you to schedule 1,000 meetings to see if you can change careers. Whoa, Chris, that's ridiculous. Well, think of it this way. 1,000 meetings times $100 is $100,000. That's the cost of an MBA, including lost revenue, because you won't be working full time. So I would set up 1,000, and yes, I am exaggerating. It's like my dad said, Chris, I told you a million times not to exaggerate. But set up a ton of networking meetings, a ridiculous amounts. And if you still can't change careers after you read this book and set up a gazillion networking meetings, then consider going to a traditional bricks and mortar school. But I caution you because a lot of the stuff in business school is antiquated. It's last century stuff. They don't teach you the most important things, like how to write a business plan, how to present, how to interview, how to get a job, how to manage your own money. You're taught how to manage other people's money. And ask anybody that graduated from business school, the day they graduate, ask them, so do you know how to start a company now? Most of them say no. And then in terms of what part of an MBA is an art and a science, yeah, I say pretty much all science. Maybe a little bit art side with the marketing side of it, but mainly science. And what I loved about Steve Jobs is he said that Apple and his philosophy was at the intersection of technology and the liberal arts. And I love that. And when I teach online as well in my MBA degree program, it is somewhat artistic as well. I change the backdrop all the time. I think of this as art. I just have fun with it, man. Yeah. And if you can't be creative in business, it gets pretty damn boring. Next question is, while seeking funding, what are the best ways to pitch to investors, considering we are doing this online? Thanks. Yeah. So what I would say is failing to plan is planning to fail. And most people don't write a business plan. And it's ridiculous because starting a company can, sometimes be the most important, non-personal decision you have in life. It can ruin your life too. You can lose a lot of money. You can age prematurely if you don't do it right. The stress is terrible. So writing a business plan first makes a lot of sense. And writing a business plan, and I have a course called the Complete Business Plan course, or in my MBA degree program, you can, I have a much, much higher end version of that. And actually in my MBA degree program, I have what's called Venture Capital Boot Camp. And I used to work in venture capital as well. And as part of this boot camp, laugh at me, not with me, please. But as part of this boot camp, I teach you how to start a company. I coach you through it. If you're in my gold and platinum version, there's one-on-ones as well. And I help you specifically with your business model. But as part of my venture capital boot camp in my MBA degree program, or you can take my complete business plan course, I teach you not only how to write an amazing 100-page business plan, to the extent that it doesn't matter what questions they're going to ask you in a capital raising meeting, I've got you covered. But I also teach you how to create a 10-page presentation, an investor pitch deck. Less is more. And I teach you how to raise money in a lot of detail as well in my MBA degree program. And I'd love to have you join. All right. I got a little bald spot starting there. Just a little bit of comb over. Be like Krusty the Clown soon. Yeah. All right. John Klee, how are you, John? John said, hope all is well. Best way to break into the financial writing and blogging industry, ? Yeah. And for those who are not familiar with John, he works with me. He's awesome. He's worked part-time. He's got other things going on right now as well. And I think you're great, John. Thank you. So John said, hey, Chris, how do you break into the financial writing / blogging industry? Yeah. So what I would say is, first of all, read my book, because in this book, I teach you also how to write like a professional journalist. And there's a couple of YouTube videos in here I linked to, where I have one video in particular, which is 15 rules for how to write like a journalist. And I used to have my own Inc. magazine column on the side. And so I learned a lot from my editor. So I would read this book. It'll explain how to write like a journalist. But I'll give you a couple of quick ones. For the rest of your life, and this goes for actually everybody in this call, for the rest of your life, never put more than 3 sentences in a paragraph ever again. Why? Because we just don't have the attention span anymore. You know, it's intimidating seeing massive paragraphs. 3 sentences per paragraph, that's it. And if you have to put a 4th sentence in, use a semicolon if you can. Also, write at an 8th grade level. I know that sounds out there, but when I first started writing online in various publications, and I've been in VentureBeat, Wired Magazine, Inc., Entrepreneur, tons of magazines. When I first started writing online, I started writing like The Economist, you know, that really boring magazine with font size -8 million. And then my editor told me, he said, Chris, you got to appeal to a larger total addressable market, write at an 8th grade level. And so I did it. My stuff worked out a lot better that way, which wasn't hard for me to write at an 8th grade level, because that's how I think. That's my maturity. I'm still 14 in my mind. Yeah. So that's what I would say. And the titles of your articles are really important. And you want to use certain words like you must, urgent, crucial, etc. And you want to put numbers in your titles as well. And that's one of the reasons why my first book did fine, whatever, called The 101 Crucial Lessons They Don't Teach You in Business School, which Forbes wrote is one of 6 books every entrepreneur needs to read right now, along with Peter Thiel's book, as well as Good to Great and Stephen Covey's book, etc. Yeah. But I think that the way to become a thought leader, John, is to think like a thought leader and opine a lot. You know, just write a lot of stuff online, on LinkedIn. You know, maybe set a deadline date for yourself in your personal calendar to write an article every single week, and be consistent as well. And so for me, I'm consistent when it comes to vlogging. So my vlogs drop every day at 9 a.m. My time on YouTube. And then I repurpose it as well and have it automatically dropped onto LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And then I also have shorter videos that are made just for Instagram, and they drop later on during the day as well. But just be consistent. Be consistent. Yeah. All right. Albus is saying, I want to know about valuing startups. There's no previous data available to be able to forecast. Yeah. So it's really hard coming up with an intelligent valuation on a private company that's precise. And venture capitalists are incredibly unsophisticated. And I say it with love in my heart in a good way. They're unsophisticated when it comes to creating financial models. It's not like publicly traded companies, but they're way more sophisticated when it comes to analyzing management teams. Because ideas are commodities, but execution is not. And the jockey's always more important than the horse. Yeah. And so venture capitalists, they focus much more time on the quality of the management team. Whereas on Wall Street, you look at the numbers more closely, which is moronic because what is a great business? A great business is run by a great person, like a Mark Benioff, for example. And you should also always put a premium valuation on a premium management team. And I would always prefer to invest in a B business model with an A management team instead of investing in an A business model with a B management team. Ideas are commodities, but execution is not. So when it comes to valuing companies and how venture capitalists set valuation, what they'll do is a lot of times they might make a rudimentary or a basic financial model, and then they'll value the company off of several different metrics, including price to revenue, maybe DCF, but probably not, and maybe price to earnings in the future, which I like to do. And the reason why you look at price to revenue multiples is because the company you're investing in is not profitable yet, and they might not be until 1 or 2 years after going public. So how do you value it then? Well, you look at similar companies in the industry that are publicly traded and what valuation they currently trade at. And so if a company is trading at a price earnings multiple that's publicly traded of 10 times and it's growing earnings at 10%, then for the private company, you might also want to value the company at 10 times your earnings estimate way, way, way into the future when that company has a similar growth profile to the publicly traded company. You can also look at revenue multiples as well, but it all depends on the market and the industry in general. So if it's a cloud software company, back in 2012, a lot of great software companies that went public, like ServiceNow, ticker NOW, Workday, ticker WDAY, Splunk, ticker SPLK. Those aforementioned 3 companies traded around 15 to 20 times revenue when they went public. That was just the going valuation at that time. And so valuation is always relative based on what other similar companies are trading at. And you never want to value companies using only one methodology. You want to use at least 3. Because one of your valuation methodologies, one of your valuation methodologies might be wrong. And so if you do 3, you minimize the margin of error. Okay. Next question is, what are some examples of crisis in companies? Also, do we bring up solutions to manage such crisis? How do we bring up solutions? Yeah. So the question is, what are some examples of a crisis in companies? Yeah. So I would say that there could be a PR crisis. So let me see if I've got my prop here. I do. So for example, this is an Intel chip from 1994. And in 1994, there was an issue at Intel because this Pentium chip, and this is the actual one here, one of the ones, obviously, not the only one. But what happened was very, very complex, big scientific calculations were 0.0001% or so off because of this chip. And so what the late, great Andy Grove did, who's the co-founder of Intel and the CEO, what he did was he went on all the talk shows and apologized, took ownership for the mistake, and told consumers that were watching or big companies that ordered tech equipment, you can get your money back or get a new chip, we'll send it to you right away. And the unintended positive consequence, I should say, or benefit, was that a lot of people hadn't heard of Intel at the time. And they saw this really honest man, Andy Grove, on television talking about a chip that's inside a computer that you can never see. And for a lot of people, that was the first time they really understood what a processor is or what the brain of the computer is. And so with crisis came opportunity. And it was a coming of age moment for Intel, so to speak, in the processor market. A decade before that, they had another crisis, which Andy Grove talks about in his amazing book called Only the Paranoid Survive. And that crisis was that they were in the DRAM business, which DRAM, RAM is random access memory. It means the more RAM you have in your computer, the more programs you can have open at the same time. But what happened was Intel was in the DRAM business. And then a lot of Japanese companies like Hitachi, et cetera, entered the market. And at that time, a lot of Japanese companies were so long-term focused, which is smart. They're so long-term focused that they cared more about market share and less about margins, profit margins. And so what happened was Intel couldn't compete in the RAM market anymore, the DRAM market. And so with crisis comes opportunity. And what Andy Grove did at Intel is he actually pivoted and got out of the DRAM business and moved into the processor market. So in hindsight, I'm sure they're very happy about that crisis. Yeah. So with crisis comes opportunity. You know, and most people in business freak out when there's a crisis. But the chosen few that decide to see it as an opportunity, they thrive. You know, it's kind of like investing. You got to buy stocks when there's blood in the streets, when everyone else is freaking out. And as Warren Buffett said, you want to be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. Because if you buy the same stock or invest in the same companies everybody else is investing in already, who's the incremental investor to push that higher, that stock? There's not that many. And so I love to buy broken stocks, but not broken companies. And quite often I see a crisis as an opportunity. And I've learned the hard way over the years to be like that. And you have to be incredibly unemotional about business as well and see a crisis as nothing more than an opportunity. Be a contrarian and watch your net worth take off. All right, my coffee's getting cold, man. I've got this. It's called an Ember mug, and it's supposed to keep it warm. It doesn't work that well though, unless you continually have it plugged in to the charger. And I love to make my coffee like 140 something degrees. It doesn't actually get that hot, but anyway. So I'll put a little lid on the top. Maybe it'll get a little bit hotter faster. All right, and it is freezing here. Usually I complain about the heat, but I left my window open today. Okay. I got a little spider web for some reason. Maybe it's because I left my window open. Okay. Keeping it real. All right, next question is Melody, how are you? Melody is our awesome teacher from the great state of Georgia. She's from Atlanta. She's a teacher, and she also put up a course on Udemy, which is awesome. So Melody wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hope you had a great day." Likewise. And then you wrote, "How was your vacation?" It was fun. It was fun, thanks. I got to reconnect with the kids and Christine. And we started playing tennis as well. Yeah. So I played for my entire life. My kids are getting into it now as well. And there's a lot of great tennis courts, you know, not that far away from my house. So we're starting to get back into that. But I'm a really good Wii tennis player. Yeah. But that's about it. Yeah. And then you wrote, what was the kids' favorite activity? Yeah, it was canoeing. Yeah, we went canoeing in these glass bottom transparent canoes. It was fun up in Tahoe, Lake Tahoe. And Lake Tahoe is beautiful. It is gorgeous. And the environmentalists have done an amazing job keeping it pristine. Yeah. So canoeing was great, and tennis too. The kids have fun with that. Yeah. And yes, I was able to get some rest. Absolutely. I did get caught a couple times by my kids and Christine doing a little bit of work, but I love doing what I'm doing. Yeah. It's hard to unplug when you find your passion. Yeah. All right. Hold on a second. Yeah, give me 1 second, guys. It just what happens sometimes is YouTube chat jumps all the way to the bottom. It's frustrating, but I'll just do a search on Melody. Here we go. I found you. All right, we're good to go. All right, great. So Melody wrote, "I'm doing a webinar for parents every Saturday at noon now. Good for you. It's awesome. And Melody's course is teaching kids how to read. It's great. I bought it. It's awesome. I even wrote you a review. It was good. So you wrote, I'm doing a webinar every Saturday at noon now. Any tips on how to run a successful webinar? It will be on Zoom. Yeah. So what I would say, and this is our 101st weekly webcast, is prepare a script just in case there's not many people that are there asking questions. and so when I did my first, and let me show you my first webcast really quickly. So my very first webcast, and you can always go to my website and then go to weekly webcasts. And this is where I have this in all my vlogs as well. Yeah. But my very first couple webcasts, and this here was in Berlin at a Udemy live event. Yeah, and these are two of my great MBA students. And Vital and I are releasing a French version. I am going to speak French of my entire MBA one course soon. It's pretty cool. But let me show you my early ones here. So if it'll even load, yeah. So I always, what I did, Melody, was I was worried that there won't be questions. So I would always have something to talk about before people arrive, just in case. And there was always a lot of dead air too. So this is me, 101 weeks.
I just want to say good morning and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
How to take your career to the next level.
But for a couple of minutes there, look, I look like a frog. Kermit the Frog. Or Grover. If I was purple, I'd look like Grover from Sesame Street. But I didn't have, like, nobody was there. So I actually had to create a script initially. And I did that for the first, I guess, couple of webcasts because nobody showed up. But I was persistent, kind of like I am with my vlogs. I don't know if that's a good thing. Where I said, I don't care if nobody watches ever. I'm just going to keep doing this forever. But I had a script prepared first, Melody, just in case. In the script, I kind of anticipated questions people might ask. But you always want to give, give and you will receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. Some people call it karma or karma synchronicity, call it what you will. But if you add value to people's lives through a webinar or through a YouTube video, good things will happen. So just try to add value and always ask yourself 2 words before everything you say on a webcast as well. Those 2 words are, so what? I say with love my heart. Is what I'm saying right now going to help somebody or not? And then you'll get more sophisticated after you do them for a while. Like we're on episode 101 now. And I keep trying to push the goalpost out and learn new things. Otherwise, if I don't challenge myself and try to innovate, it gets kind of boring. Yeah. Okay. And Ashil's saying, hey, Professor, welcome back. Thank you. I just saw your Stanford business school interview. It was awesome. I hope you and your family are doing well. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Next up is from the Synergy Group, who's saying, I'm turning 50. Congratulations. That's awesome. And my older brother, Jamie, just turned 51 on August 10th. Love that guy. He's like a brother to me. My only brother. Yeah. You wrote here, I'm turning 50 this week, and I'm commencing my own venture. Good for you, man. Good for you. You know, the average age of somebody starting a company in America now is over 50. It's incredible. Life starts at 50, dude. So you wrote, you're starting your own company. And then you wrote, thank you for your motivation and the MBA course that added value to me and my Cake Index, which is your company. And then you wrote, a big thank you once again. Regards. Thank you. And then you wrote, CAKE stands for, CAKE, stands for Cumulative Acquired Knowledge and Experience. I love it. You're most welcome, and thank you for joining, and best of luck with your business. And if I can humbly help you in any way, you can ask me here or in the MBA degree program as well. Yeah, thank you. Next up is Brendan. Brendan is saying, hey, Chris, first off, I'd like to sincerely thank you for your classes. I want to thank you. You the student, you're my customer. Thank you. And then you wrote, your advice on personal finance has made me feel much more confident about building my future during all this chaos in the world. Oh, thank you. And then you wrote, it is pretty chaotic. Yeah. Things are crazy. I do worry a lot about about the United States. I don't understand why people don't take this whole COVID thing more seriously. Like, I always have a mask in my pocket just in case, and gloves, for when I go up and get the mail and stuff. And I don't think people are taking it seriously enough. And it really does, it does worry me. But I do pray a lot too. And God already knows what's going to happen, which gives me peace in my heart. And you wrote here, my question has to do with long-term investing for retirement. I currently have a Roth IRA through Vanguard, which I'm maxing out. Yeah. While I understand that I'm responsible for my own research and investing, I'd like to hear your honest opinion on my strategy. Because I'm only 21. To be 21 again. Yeah. And good for you for thinking of retirement saving now. That's incredible. Let me take a step back and explain to everybody overseas what an IRA is, and people in the United States that haven't done much research on it. A Roth IRA, it basically allows you to put money into a retirement savings account, but you pay taxes first. And then it grows in that retirement savings account. And then when you take money out later, you don't pay tax. And that's kind of the opposite of a traditional retirement savings program. In America, it's called a 401k. In Canada, it's called an RSVP, an RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Program. In other countries, it's called something else. Australia, I think it's Superannuum or something, yeah. In the way that traditional retirement accounts work, and if you can do it, everybody in this call, please save as much money as you can. It's the best investment you'll ever make because it's tax shelter. The way it works with a 401k or traditional retirement savings programs in most countries is you put money into it tax-free every year. Okay, in the United States, I think it's $18,500 you can contribute per year max. Then when you put your money in that retirement savings account, it grows and you never pay taxes on it ever until you take the money out when you're older. So that's the opposite of a Roth IRA where you pay taxes first. You pay taxes first, yeah. And the reason some people like to do a Roth IRA is because they think to themselves, oh my goodness, taxes are going to be way, way higher in the future. So I might as well pay taxes now. So that's what I would say. But I think it's the best investment you can do, retirement savings. And for those of you that work at big companies, you might have a retirement savings program that's sponsored by your company. And I recommend, if you can, I know times are tough now, but I recommend if you can, let me try to turn the air conditioning off. I recommend if you can to have money deducted from your paycheck every single 2 weeks. So it's out of sight, out of mind, and it goes in your retirement savings account. And if you do that from a young age, within a couple decades, you will be a multimillionaire just in that retirement savings account. So the younger you start, the better. And good for you for starting at 21. That's amazing. Yeah. 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 And then you wrote, I feel like I can sustain a bit more risk in my portfolio because you're 21. Absolutely. And the rule of thumb is this. You take this is old school, but you take 100 minus your age. So if you're 21, 100 minus 21 is 79. And that means that 79% of your portfolio can be in slightly more risky investments and 21% in less risky investments. If you're 90 years old, then 100 minus 90 is 10. That means 10% of your investments can be in more risky investments and 90% in less risky investments. If you're over 100, that obviously that rule doesn't apply. So it's kind of old school. Yeah. So good for you for considering taking on risk. Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that you're dealing with Vanguard as well, because mutual funds are an absolute scam and a ripoff. Because mutual fund fees are insanely high. You pay more taxes on mutual funds too, because portfolio managers chase performance into year end. They buy and sell a lot more. And if you buy and sell and realize a profit in less than a year, you usually pay higher taxes than if you held something for longer than a year, because governments are trying to encourage you to be a patient long-term investor. And governments don't like volatility or uncertainty. Yeah. But good for you for doing that. And I'm glad you're using Vanguard as well, because the fees are insanely low. You'll pay for the most part less than 0.5%. And you wrote the S&P 500 you own and the growth one as well. Good for you. Good for you. And let me show everybody what that means really quickly. So if you go to, let's go to finance. That was me for my first webcast when I look like Grover. Finance.yahoo.com. And we type in SPY, which is the spiders people call it. This here is an index fund. And whenever you go here, let me make it bigger so you guys can see this. Whenever you go here, you got to go to profile to see what the expense rate is. It's amazing. Look at this, dude. You pay only 0.09% fees each year for owning all 500 stocks in the S&P 500. That's a great deal. I love ETFs. If you own a mutual fund, you might be paying close to 5%. And 90% of mutual funds underperform ETFs anyway. It's a scam. So good for you for doing that. Yeah. And then you wrote here, I have a couple of funds that are set on dividend reinvestment plans. Is this a viable long-term strategy to save for retirement? Yeah, I think buying index funds is great. It's amazing. It's brilliant. And I love dividend reinvestments as well. And what that means is, for those who are not familiar with it, some companies have dividends. And when they issue a dividend, which is usually a couple % per year, then that money gets reinvested automatically by that ETF in the stock you own. It's smart. I think it's really, really smart. Good for you for doing that. Great job. Great job. And then you said, sorry for the long question. No worries at all, please. And you wrote, bless you for your patience if you made it this far. No, I did, man. I could do this all day. And I used to do these calls all day long without stopping. I wouldn't get up once. In fact, if you go to the October 31st, 2019 webcast, that one was 9.5 hours straight. I didn't get up once. Yeah. And Melody, who's got the next question here, she actually came on the call with Zoom, and her kids were there as well. I remember that because they were dressed up in these awesome Halloween costumes. All right, now I missed a couple of questions in between. Let me scroll up. And if I missed anybody, just paste it again, please. Okay, Kemi, how are you? So Kemi is she's from England originally, and she lives in Brampton, Canada. And she was on the webcast a while ago, and she brought on her adorable daughter. And let me show you really quickly here. Okay, so let's go to my website. And let's go back to my webcast. Where is she here? Right, here we go. There we go. That's Kemi and her adorable daughter right there. Look at the sun shining there, right? Amazing, cool. That was fun. But Kemi is in my MBA degree program, the silver version as well. Okay. So Kemi wrote, Chrissy, we've missed you. Thank you. I missed you too. Then you wrote, great to have you back. Hope you had a good time with your family. And then I did. Thank you. It was great. Yeah. And every day before I get out of bed, I thank God for these 10 things in this order. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, those are my kids. Christine, Mom, Dad, Jamie, Katie, Elizabeth, those are my sisters. And I reverse those too every now and then, Katie and Elizabeth, if you're watching. And then lastly, my students. You. Then you wrote here, when the Lebanon incident happened, I thought about you. Yeah, no, thank you. And then you wrote, I hope you didn't know anyone impacted by it. No, thank you. God bless you for that. Yeah, it is tragic. Yeah, it's on my mom's side of the family. My mom's father, he was a Haddad, which is a very common name. We have some relatives there. I don't think they were impacted though. But I remember in the early 80s when the U.S. Embassy was bombed in, I think it was Beirut, we did have some family members close by to that. But I think they're okay. Thank you. Yeah. But God willing, this ends quickly. Yeah. All right. And then next up, I've got Joao. And again, if I miss anybody in between, just paste it again, please. So Joao is saying, good morning and welcome back, Chris. I hope you had a great vacation. I did, thank you. It's great to be back. And then Kemi wrote here, I said a prayer for all affected by it. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. Hopefully it works out. And, you know, when I get stressed out business-wise, which never happens anymore. But what puts me at ease is I always tell myself, God knows what's going to happen. And that just gives me peace of mind. Yeah. I believe in the power of prayer. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. And Melody wrote here, who's our great teacher from Atlanta, who recently published a Udemy course. She wrote, I'm 50% done with course number 2. Awesome. Good for you. It's awesome. It's awesome. And then you wrote here, question. How do you survey your target audience without seeming intrusive? Yeah. So I use SurveyMonkey. And what I do and what I've done before is I've actually sent out surveys to my students to ask them, what should I teach next? And so I wouldn't do it right away. I do it after you publish a couple of courses. And then just send a survey to all your students. And within Udemy, you can send 4 educational announcements per month. I think you could send surveys as well. And I did that actually. And the reason why I made the course the complete financial analyst course is because my students asked for it through a survey. And I'll show you how to do that. So let's go here to SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey.com. And this is what I've actually done is right here. Let me see if I can even log in if it's going to remember me. Yeah. Oh, pain in the neck. It basically said, you haven't logged in here before, whatever, enter in your code. I'll show you quickly, actually. This might be helpful for everybody. So let me go here to here, new login alert. Okay. Leave me alone is my device nickname here. Okay, great. Excellent. Now, let me go here and show you. So if we go back here to surveymonkey.com. All right. And let's go to this website is not intuitive at all. I guess I'll remove somebody there and then hit refresh. Ridiculous, really. Yeah. Okay. So I've got 210 responses for a recent survey. So I asked people in my courses, you know, what cryptocurrency should I add to the course? And how did you hear about the MBA degree program? So here, what I do is after somebody buys the MBA degree program I have, the silver version, after they click buy, on the landing page, after the payment's been made, there's a little link that says, optional, please let me know how you heard about this program. And so we can analyze the results here. And so here it is. It's actually pretty powerful. So right here, 41% heard about my MBA degree program through Udemy, 24% through my website, HarounEducation.com. And then here, I guess the same thing. It's only 4 people heard about it from my weekly YouTube live webcast. And then here, Google, I guess, miscellaneous YouTube, and then other. Yeah. And then for other, I'll read about them as well to see what people had to say. You always want to provide other. So Facebook via entrepreneurship, the Financial Post in Canada where we advertise. My uncle Mo Abramson, who this is Elon, one of my amazing students, and his uncle Mo's in my class as well. Yeah. So I think it's great. I think it's great. You can get, I think, really, really cheap plans, or you can pay up to get something a little bit more sophisticated in terms of Q&A. And you can even pay SurveyMonkey something like $50. And you can select the demographics and region of the world where you want to do a custom survey. Yeah. Okay. And then Melody said, I go in Facebook groups, so I'm having trouble getting information I need. Okay, for targeting, yeah. I would say once you have critical mass, a lot more students, and you're doing awesome on Udemy as well. Your reviews are great. Then after a couple more courses, I would send out just a simplistic email with a link to SurveyMonkey asking what course should I make next. Yeah. All right, next question is it a good time to invest in Vanguard? Yeah. If you're talking about individual ETFs, I mean, yeah, I think it's always great to invest and diversify in ETFs. But I personally, this is just me, I like to buy when everyone else is freaking out and the markets are at all-time highs and people are not freaking out. So I'm certainly not buying right now. Yeah. I buy when it feels really uncomfortable. Like I bought a lot of stocks in March when the markets were in free fall and it felt so uncomfortable. But that's when you have to do it, when it feels uncomfortable. Because if it feels uncomfortable for you, it feels uncomfortable for everybody. It's kind of like when you buy a house or an apartment. If it doesn't feel a little bit uncomfortable, you're not buying enough house without over leveraging ourselves, of course. Be a contrarian, and that's how your net worth will soar in the long run. All right. And then Kemi said, please check email when you get a chance. My question is, what are your thoughts on cybersecurity as a business? As a business, you can ask me right here. Yeah. So give me a little bit more details on what you mean by cybersecurity. You talking about a hardware appliance or a software appliance or something IoT based? Just let me know. I know a lot about the sector. You know, I invested in Checkpoint, ticker CHKP, years ago. I met with Gil Schwed a number of times. I met with John Thompson when he ran Symantec and he bought Veritas. Questionable deal, but I like him a lot. So I know a lot about the sector as well. McAfee, I've done it all. Just ask me if you want, but be more specific, and I'm happy to opine with my thoughts here. Thank you. All right. And then Melody is saying, with the webinar I do every Saturday at noon, I'm thinking about doing a survey and then offering a free gift. Yeah. So what I've done before is I've given away courses for free on webinars as well, like this. But what I would do, Melody, is I'd start to build an email list. And the way to do that is to use MailChimp initially. In between SurveyMonkey and MailChimp, I get confused. They're all monkey stuff. But you can use MailChimp initially. And then what you can do is you can use ActiveCampaign when you move up. It's kind of like starting out with using Excel for accounting, and then use QuickBooks, and then NetSuite, and then SAP or Oracle Financials, whatever. That's what I would do. And there's got to be a carrot as well. So give away something. In return, you get their email address, which is what I've done, right? And I built a business off of this as well. Yeah. But I think that the size of your email list will determine your success longer term. And once you have a large enough email list, and I've got a massive one, then you could start doing email marketing and stuff. But you got to make sure that you add value, right? And then you don't ask too often. Like I sent out an email yesterday to all of my gazillion subscribers talking about the early acceptance deadline for my MBA degree program, which is this Saturday, the 15th of August. But you don't ask too much, otherwise people get upset. And you do see the unsubscribe rates as well. You want to add as much value as you can, and then occasionally ask for something in return. Yeah, give and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. Okay. And Gerson is saying, God bless you. Good morning, sir. Well, God bless you more. Welcome back. Hoping you and your family are well. And then you wrote, did you enjoy your vacation? Thank you, Gerson. I appreciate it. I did. It was fun. It was fun. We went up to Lake Tahoe. We rented a place. And we also looked into buying real estate up there. But the prices are insanely high. And here's why. Now's not the time to buy real estate there. Because most countries won't allow you to come to their country if you're American. Because of COVID, for now at least. Or a lot of countries are like that too. Breaks my heart because I want to go home and see my family in Canada. And if we do, we have to be quarantined for 2 weeks, which sucks. But as a result of not being able to leave the country, Tahoe is packed and real estate prices are going up a lot. Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun. It's a little bit too crowded for my liking, but it was fun. It was fun. We went on a lot of hikes together, and hiking is hard, man. If you have one of those masks, I bought a bigger version of a mask to make it easier for me to breathe. But it was fun. It was fun. Yeah. Okay. And Saloni is saying, hi, Chris. It's been a long time. I hope that you had a great time. God bless you. God bless you more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, cool. And then next up, hi, Chris. Welcome back. What are your thoughts about turnkey rental investments? I'm interested in getting a good ROI, and I don't feel comfortable with the stock market. Yeah, yeah. So we bought a building recently, and we closed on it. It's in London, Ontario, and we closed on it in February. And it was great because everyone was freaking out. That was the right time to buy it. And then we refinanced already a couple times. And the rental property, it's right by the University of Western Ontario in London, Ontario, where I was born. And so we put down a down payment, not a big one actually, and the rent from the 5 units in that building more than covers the mortgage payments. So it's great. It's awesome. It's awesome. And we chose London, Ontario also because it's close to a university, and universities are sometimes somewhat counter-cyclical. You know, people still go to university in recessionary times. So yeah. And I love buying land and real estate, and I can hear my late great grandfather, I missed you. I can hear him saying, buy land, Chrissy, they're not making it anymore. Yeah. So I love land. Absolutely love buying land. Yeah. But you got to do it when everyone else is freaking out. Yeah. And it's very cyclical too. Like real estate cycles can be a decade as well. Yeah. And just be careful with leverage. Don't over leverage yourself. Yeah. All right. And then Smart is saying, hi, Chris. My first time on the web link. Great to have you. Thank you. And Rutwick is saying, hello, sir. Call me Chris, please. Hey, Rutwick. Hope you're doing well. Ramon is saying, something seems new. Water instead of juice on your tumbler. Yeah. No, I still have juice down here. I actually got a couple things here. So, which one is which? I've got special. I biohack a lot. So there's actually vegetable juice in this one, green vegetable juice. And this one here. Oh my God! Look at that, dude! I've got a cup holder right over here. I had no idea. Very cool. All right. And this one here. This is my shake, which I made 6 or 7 days ago. I make 7 of them for the week. I put them in the fridge, and I make sure to fill all the way up, though, so it doesn't oxidize and go bad. But this is greatest hits of every antioxidant you can think of, kale and a bunch of other super vegetables and fruits as well. Yeah. It's good. And whenever I eat, I usually take a couple vitamins with it, too. I take a lot of vitamins and herbs. So, yeah. Grab my water. All right. And this here, actually, by the way, this is a Ninja Bullet. So the good thing about this is that if you don't have time to make a bunch of shakes ahead of time for the week, I take this and it's got a blender component to it. I put it on the blender, right? When I put juice and stuff in it, and I blend it up, and you're good to go. And I have a couple of these as well. So it works out well. And what I've been doing lately is I've been subscribing to food and getting it delivered. You have to decide what's your time worth. If you make $20 an hour, then getting somebody to deliver food that costs $10 per meal might be worth your time if you're going to work extra hours. And so I started out using thegoodkitchen.com. It was great for a while, and then I got sick of it because it all tasted the same. Now what I do is I use a product called Daily Harvest. And every week they'll deliver 7 meals in a frozen box. And then I'll put those organic vegetable dishes into my Vitamix or into my Ninja Bullet. And I'll put a bunch of other greatest hits, antioxidants, super EFA oil, etc. Acai, which is a great South American fruit that gives me energy. And flax seeds as well, which you have to do as a guy to stop cancer and stuff. Yeah. All right. And then Jacob, hope all is well, man. Jacob's saying, stay safe, wear masks, and respect each other. Amen. Amen. Yeah. I still can't believe that people aren't wearing masks. I can't. And my kids are not allowed to go to school yet here in California. So they're going to be at home doing online classes for another 6 weeks, and then they'll reassess. And Mayor Gavin Newsom, I think he's done a great job so far. Or not mayor, sorry, governor. He used to be mayor of San Francisco. I think he'll be president one day as well. I think he's done a great job trying to contain COVID, but people just aren't listening. I don't know. It sucks. And it looks like New York State, Governor Cuomo said they're going to reopen all schools. All schools, yeah. So God willing, it doesn't get worse. Like if they do reopen schools here in California, it's going to be staggered, meaning students will only go certain days of the week and they'll mix it up as well, which is smart, yeah. But I think it's incredibly selfish of people not wearing masks. Yeah. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe it's because people don't want their freedoms messed with and whatever, but yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah. Doesn't help that we have a president that refuses to wear masks all the time. Yeah. Who knows, man? Maybe a cure will come this November. All right. Mohammed is saying, if you could help me out to prepare a business analysis report, what do you suggest? Should I prepare myself a report, or should my team hire or freelance someone who can do it for us? Yeah. So I recommend taking my complete business plan course. You can take it on Udemy or go to my website to get a Udemy coupon, because I think that will help you out a lot. And the business plan course is not just if you want to start a company, but it's also if you want to start a new department or do an analysis on a new business unit. So I would take that. It's a lot cheaper than hiring a consultant. And Harold is here saying, hey, Chris, first time on your webcast. Thank you, Harold. Great to have you. Thank you. Okay, and then give me 1 second. Let me just do a time check. Okay, we're good. Okay, so we got to wrap up at 11 a.m. We're totally good. And what I'm doing today, by the way, is after this call is done at 11, I have office hours for my MBA gold and platinum students, just for them. And then what I also have is I do one-on-ones. So there's a timer up there, and what I do actually is, see if I can show it to you. The one-on-one meetings are 20 minutes, and then it's a countdown that way. And sometimes I'll even bring up my desk and use my my walker here. See here, this is a walker. This is like a Michael Bay desk. It transforms. It moves up. It's made by a company called Fully. Moves up, and then I have a walk. I take the chair off, obviously, and these pedals here, and then I walk. That's how I get my 20,000 steps in. Yeah. Try to multitask. And it's fun. And I think more clearly, too. All right. And then Shubham's saying, thank you, Chris, for answering all our questions and helping us so generously. More power to you. Thank you. Thank you. And Harold is saying, I'm currently taking your cryptocurrency course and just started the section on learning to use your investment framework. Awesome. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah. And when I first started making that cryptocurrency course, I was like a 7 out of 10 positive. I liked cryptos. And by the end of it, I was a 3 out of 10. And I realized from my deep research that most cryptocurrencies are an absolute scam. A lot of them are scams. And I think a lot of people are going to go to jail for pumping and dumping cryptos eventually, when the market does get regulated. And it will get regulated as well. But I do own 4 cryptos, and I'm never, ever selling them. Yeah. But I did a ton of research. I even hired a guy that was so good to verify all my work. I worked 6 months day and night making that course. It's like 24 hours long, I think, right? But I hired a guy who was so amazing. And then the NSA came to my house, and they did a background check on that guy. And I think it's because maybe they were going to hire that person, who I can't name. But it was kind of a weird knock to get on the door, too. Yeah. And I had Matt Lacousse, who's my amazing chief creative officer and now a partner. I made him a partner in my firm. It was the first time he came over to my house, Matt. and I was talking to him about my company, and then this NSA guy came in, and yeah, it was kind of out there. Yeah. But anyway, okay. All right, let me see. Did I miss anybody? If I missed any questions, just post it again, please, guys. Thanks. Okay, next up is Dario, who's saying, in your opinion, what is the best cold wallet to safely store cryptocurrencies? Thank you for your course on cryptos. Yeah. I would say my favorite overall wallet is the Trezor, which one of my amazing students from Bulgaria named Julian told me. Trezor in Bulgarian means vault. So I like the Trezor a lot. It's probably my favorite one. Yeah. All right. They're all a pain in the ass to set up too, though. Like with all that, you have to answer 8 million questions. And anyway, as you can see from the frustration I had in that course setting it up. Yeah. And then Money Cloud Show wrote, Steve Jobs is my idol. Yeah. He's the only guy that really understands simplicity or understood simplicity. And, you know, I remember after Steve was fired by the board at Apple, he went to Stanford to give a guest lecture. And one of the students at Stanford brought in a keyboard from a Mac. And there were F keys at the top, F1 through F11, whatever. And the student said, Steve, will you sign my keyboard? And Steve said, no, only if you tear off all those F keys. And so he actually did it. The student ripped them off, and then Steve signed the back of it. Yeah, because simplicity works well in business and with consumer electronic products. Like growing up for me, we were used to hitting F1 for the help menu for everything. And then all of a sudden, we don't ever have to read instruction manuals anymore because the companies that are the most successful ones are the ones that make very intuitive products. Okay. And Harold is saying, are you planning to update your cryptocurrency spreadsheet? Some of the links no longer work. Let me know which links exactly. I did update it for my MBA degree program where I have kind of a newer version. And I updated all that content as well. But there might be one or two on mining, I think. And there's one website that tells you how to select components for your computer. That link might be off. But if you ask a question in the course, then my staff will help you out. Thanks. Okay. And Ramesh is saying, hello, sir. Well, call me Chris, please. Okay. And then Golden Spring is saying, hey, Chris, nice to see you for the first time. Thank you. And you wrote, I just want to know, do you have any monthly payment plans for the Platinum course? Yeah. I'll be introducing that later on this fall. So I think yes is the answer. Yeah. So the payment won't be due until October or so, but there will be scholarships as well. Yeah. So just ask me again. If you post acceptance and all that stuff too. And again, the acceptance date or the early admissions deadline is August 15th, this Saturday. And the earlier you apply, the higher chance you have of getting it. Yeah. Next up is Angela is saying, hi, Chris, really appreciate these calls. Thank you. And I appreciate the fact you're here as well. Thank you. Axel is saying, hello, sir. What courses or degrees do you think I should do to be ahead of current procedures in finance and data analysis? Yeah. Well, I don't think you have to get specific degrees. If you want to do something on the side, I recommend taking my finance courses or my MBA degree program where I go into finance in a lot more detail. In terms of data analysis, there's plenty of great data analysis courses you can take from a guy named Kirill on Udemy. I would check out his courses. They're great. They're great. Yeah. And Pratik is saying, hey, Chris, how are you? I'm great. Thank you. I hope you're doing well as well. The only thing that's upsetting me is that my coffee is not hot. I've got this Ember mug thing. and it doesn't work that well. Yeah, you have to keep it on the plate the whole time. The battery dies fast. Yeah. All right. And then Reed is saying, "Hey Chris, I'm a regular person who joins you on this call, but today I've come with a different name. Please help me." I understand. I understand. Okay. I am 15. And I understand what you're doing here. That's cool. Yeah. And for a lot of times, I'll get questions from people that use different addresses in YouTube than their name, and that's cool. Especially if you work at a big company and you want to interview and you don't want your name to be out there, because this is available for the general public. Yeah, I respect that. And then you wrote here, "I'm 15 years old, and my dad is jobless from the last 3 years, and he's 45, and hasn't yet realized what is his passion. His communication skills are weak, and now we can't even afford to buy a Udemy course." I'm so sorry to hear that. "When I tell him whatever you say, he always gives me an excuse. When I tell you you should do a business, he says it's quite difficult, and then he wastes more money than what we will eat." Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. Tell you what, send me a LinkedIn message, okay? And remind me your name here. You said READ, okay? Send me a LinkedIn message, and I'm going to give you and your father free access to my Platinum MBA degree program. It sells for $1,499 each, but I'm going to give it to you and your father for free, and you can start taking it together. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right, next up, and if I missed anybody in between, please let me know. Next up is Rutwick is saying, "What are your thoughts on Facebook investing $5.7 billion in an Indian job company?" Yeah. Or an Indian company called JIO. I'm so sorry, I don't know anything about it. But what I will say is that Facebook, as much as I criticize them, and I did shut down my business account on Facebook just because I don't, for ethical reasons. But what I will say about Facebook, to be intellectually honest, is that Mark Zuckerberg probably has the best strategy when it comes to making big acquisitions in tech. And I say that because he basically lets those companies he acquires run as independent entities for 5 or 10 years. And he's smart enough to know that you shouldn't try to monetize an investment right away, but let it grow. And so with Instagram, it took 8 years or so, between 2011 when they bought it, up until 2019, until he rebranded it as a Facebook product. But he lets them run as independent entities. So I think he is a great job with that. All right, so I'm going to go. Give me one second. I'm going to close the window because my neighbor is cutting his lawn. All right, give me one second. All right. Okay. And then Absolum is saying, "Hello, thank you so much for this. You're an amazing professor." Thank you. I appreciate that. God bless you. And because I reversed the screen here. So what I see is, like, when you guys look at all the questions in YouTube, you see black text on a white background. If I did that, it would look like this through my teleprompter. I'll show you. See how it gets faded, right? So what I do is I actually have white text on a black background. The only problem, though, I'm finding is that your names are all showed in gray. So if I don't read anyone's name correctly, please don't hold it against me. But your name is Absolum. So thank you for that comment. I appreciate it. Next up is Mike, who's saying, "Where do we go to find scholarships if we fit that description?" Yeah. So if you're talking about for my MBA degree program, when it comes time to payment, if you want a scholarship, let me know then. Okay. And then Absolute is saying, is it mandatory to have a CFA in order to succeed in finance? Absolutely not. No, no, no. And so for those of you not familiar with a CFA, got a bug here from the window, sorry. For those of you not familiar with the CFA, it stands for Certified Financial Analyst. It's a designation you can get. You don't have to go to school for it. You just write 3 exams over 3 years, and you study during the evenings. And if you're going to do it, don't buy any books they recommend. I want you to go to eBay and spend $30 on used books made by a company called Schweizer. That's what I did when I did it. Yeah, you can buy them used instead of spending $1,000 on the textbooks. And Schweizer is owned Schweizer is owned by Kaplan, which is owned by the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos. Yeah, so that's what I would do. But you don't need it. But I do respect it more than I do traditional MBAs when it comes to finance. I think that what you need to get into finance is a lot of heart and network a lot. Network like crazy. And you can download this book for free from my website. Go to HarounEducation.com. It's 200 pages. It'll teach you exactly how to network to get anything you want in life. And there's several hours of YouTube videos clickable through this as well. And if you want to learn more about finance, you can take my MBA degree program or one of my finance courses on Udemy. Yeah, or on my website. Yeah. Okay. And then Harshit is saying, your entire MBA course really helped me. I've made short and long-term goals, and one of them is to start with a sales job. I'll be starting my first fresh sales job next month. Any tips? Yeah. So thank you, first of all, for that. So what I would say is that the earlier that we all realize in life that business is about relationships and not product knowledge, the earlier we realize that, the better. And a big rookie mistake in sales is to show up to a meeting with a new person, new contact, new customer, and start talking business right away. That's not how it works. You have to bond with them, right? So just kind of shoot the breeze. Sports is great boardroom talk or great sales talk. Talk about sports. Ask if it's a Monday, ask how was your weekend. If it's a Friday, ask them, do you have any plans for the weekend? Just get to know them first. And the way to do research on somebody to understand what their hobbies are and what they like is before you're meeting with them or with anybody, go to their Twitter profile and see who they follow. And that way you'll find out what they're passionate about. If they follow a lot of Major League Baseball teams, then when you meet with them, find a reason to bring up baseball. Just small talk. That's what I recommend. Relationships are more important than product knowledge. And network a lot too. That's what sales is all about. And you can read my networking book. You can get on my website for free. But people make CEO in companies, and they're successful as entrepreneurs because they're great salespeople. That's what a CEO is. A CEO is a great salesperson. And the way they became great salespeople is they networked a lot, because relationships are more important than product knowledge, and your network is your net worth. All right, next up is from Mike. Mike is saying, where do we go to find scholarships if we fit that description? And you wrote, hungry, life wasn't handed to them, etc. Yeah. So after acceptance into the gold and platinum program, I do have scholarships available. So you just, when you're asked for turn off the air conditioning, sorry. When you're asked for payment, you'll get an email from my staff. Just ask then about scholarships, and I'll take care of you. Okay. And Pratik is saying, should I take a Udemy course on Python? Yeah. I mean, if you're curious about programming languages, I think the most cost-effective way to learn about programming or business is to take online courses on Udemy. I mean, there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. So my answer is absolutely, absolutely. I would look to take, if you're interested in tech courses, some of my favorite teachers include Angela Yu, as well as Rob Percival. And they're both based in England. And I went over to Cambridge to spend a day with Rob not too long ago, Rob Percival. And I'm convinced, dude, if you have a British accent, you speak gooder than me. Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. I've always felt that way, actually, about the British accent. I don't know why, man. Maybe because I live in the Commonwealth or grew up in the Commonwealth in Canada. All right. Next question is from Melody. How do you do an email list? Yeah. So you have to give away something, a carrot, so to speak. And so, for me, if you go to my webpage, you'll see that you can download my book for free, and you enter an email address. But you have to give away something first. So maybe in your case, Melody, I know you're a teacher, and you have a course on Udemy, a great course, on how to teach kids how to read. Maybe you have a book that has some of those highlights in it, and you give that book away for free on your website. And that way you can start to collect email addresses. Yeah. And if you do it, obviously make sure there's an unsubscribe link at the bottom, which is the ethical thing to do. And also, if a lot of your customers are going to be in Europe, I'm sure a lot will be, for GPDR legal reasons, you have to do that as well. And that's what I do. And if you use, I would start with MailChimp. And then once your email list gets really, really big, do what I do, which is I use ActiveCampaign. Yeah. And Dr. Asif is saying, Chris, welcome back. Good to have you back. Thank you. And then you wrote, FYI, last week I ambitiously opened an account on eToro, which is a UK options trading platform. It was 2 days of daunting experience, and after embarrassingly losing money on every options, eventually I withdrew all my funds and closed my account. Good. Yeah. Don't do options. Just be careful. I think what's worse than options is shorting stocks too, because the upside can be unlimited. The losses can be unlimited. Yeah. But I would just be very, very long-term focused. Buy and hold, or if you already own something, buy and homework. Yeah. No, good for you for closing it. I'm with you. And a lot of hedge funds are going bankrupt this year because they don't understand. Hey, the economy is bad. Business is bad because of COVID, but the markets are at all-time highs. So yeah, just be long-term focused and back up the truck and buy stocks when everyone's freaking out. That's the best way to make money. Yeah. So just buy when there's blood in the streets. And as Warren Buffett said, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. All right. Okay. Nankura is saying, hey, Chris, thank you for producing amazing content. I appreciate it. Thank you. And a lot of credit goes also to Matt Lacus, who's my amazing chief creative officer, who does the editing for my my MBA degree program. And I've got Doug up in Toronto as well. Actually, he's up in Collingwood, who helps out with editing, and he's amazing. Hisham, who is one of my students at San Francisco State, he does a great job. He actually transcribes this call every week. Within 24 hours of the call being done, you can go to the description field of this video and click on individual questions, get answers. He's great. And then Daniil, he was my TA when I taught MBA school and undergraduate business. He's been amazing as well. I've got a great team, and I just outsourced a lot of my email marketing stuff directly to Ziggy Media. They're great as well. Yeah. And Adad makes he made the trailers for my courses. He's amazing as well. Yeah. I got a great team. And then Pratik is saying, and Jean Marco, sorry, in case he's listening. Jean Marco is doing my vlogs now too. He's great. He's amazing. And he's based actually in Toronto. Good dude. Yeah. So Pratik is saying, hey, Chris, I'm actually writing a book about future and how technology, education, health facilities could be in the future. I just want you to tell me more about what you think of the future of education. Yeah. So what I recommend doing is do a search on my name and my TEDx talk. And I translated it into 10 different languages as well online because I talk about how TEA, technology education and acceptance can and will change the world. But I do think the future of education is certainly online. My vision of the future was pulled forward 10 or 20 years because of COVID. A lot more people are learning online. I think it's the best way to learn as well. It's a lot cheaper. You don't have to spend a fortune in traveling or buying books. I think the future of education is online. And I really do believe that most universities are going to go bankrupt in my lifetime. I think the top 50 universities on the planet will do exceptionally well because people are going to think to themselves, well, I'm not going to go to university unless I get into Harvard or something like that. But the other universities, they're antiquated. At first, what will happen is they'll dip into their endowments, and then that'll be depleted. Then they'll I don't know, there'll be like a Hail Mary, and they'll call all, that's a American football term. They'll call all the alumni to ask for help. Alumni will help. They'll help them get Then eventually I think they'll go belly up. Because it's antiquated. Like the way that universities teach for the most part, and obviously medical schools will always be there, right? You can't just learn how to be a doctor online. But I do believe that that the whole notion of spending 4 years in an undergraduate university, learning stuff you can't apply in the real world, and spending $100,000 and being deeply in debt and only having 13 hours of class per week is antiquated. I think that undergraduate institutions are going to have to adapt or die. It's going to be digital Darwinism, or educational Darwinism, I should say, to the extent that I think that undergraduate schools are going to be shorter. It'll be a 2-year program, which will be supplemented with online. The days of educational elitism are behind us. It's not fair that a lot of extraordinarily wealthy people have their kids go to the best schools. Did they really earn it? Did they? I don't think it's fair at all. And the scandal we saw at USC is just the tip of the iceberg. And for those of you not familiar with that, there's a number of celebrities who hired these coaching services to lie about what their kids did for extracurricular activities. And they got caught. And, some of them are going to be spending time in jail, celebrities. But I think that's the tip of the iceberg. Think about how many unbelievably wealthy people there are out there whose kids go to these great schools. Did their kids really earn it? I'm sure some of them did. If you come from wealth, yes, you can work your ass off and do well and get in good schools. But I think there's a lot of bribing going on. And again, I think the days of educational elitism are behind us. It's not fair that somebody gets into Oxford or Cambridge because their parents went there. That's not fair. It's not fair. Or it's not fair if somebody's parents endows a building or makes a big donation that their kids get in. That's not fair. It's not fair. So anyway, I think the model of the future is online. And I think that access to affordable education is a basic human right, along with food, water, freedom of religion, which is a beautiful thing, etc. I don't think it's fair that only a handful of people get access to high quality education. And that's why I'm so bullish about this industry longer term. My vision of the future is you have millions of Malalas rising up and changing society from within by teaching online on platforms like Udemy or Teachable or their own website or YouTube or whatever it is. Who are we to be able, and I'll talk about just geopolitical stuff. Who are we to send troops overseas to fight wars we can't win or understand? I think that education changes everything. I really do. And Malala once said, with guns, you can kill terrorists. With education, you can kill terrorism. every problem in the world can and will be solved with education. And again, I think you'll have millions of Malalas rising up and changing their own societies from within. So anyway, I'm bullish on online education. Again, what's happened with Corona has kind of pulled forward my vision of the world by 10 or 20 years. Yeah. And if you want more details, you can watch my TEDx talk, or you can even go to my. I'll show you here actually really quickly. But if you go to go to YouTube, okay, and then go to my YouTube page. And I gave a keynote speech in Brazil at a massive venture capital conference. It was like 2 years ago. Is this working even? I don't know why it's not working here. Let me go to Safari, I guess. All right. So just go to YouTube. Whoops. YouTube. Chris Haroun. Haroun, is that how you pronounce that? Yeah. So just go to my YouTube link. Oh, by the way, it's my little sister right here. See here? Elizabeth. Yeah, she was on my webcast last summer. I miss my family. Yeah. But if you go here to my YouTube page, what you can do is you can see a speech I gave in Brazil on how education will fix every problem in the world. You can check it out.
Something amazing is going to happen. You ready for this?
I made an idiot of myself. Look at that. I tried to localize it. And I said my vision of the future is Brazil's going to win the World Cup.
One more. All right, thank you. I always wanted to do that.
That's the mic drop.
Now, the average age for somebody starting a company in America is over 50.
Yeah, so anyway, you guys can check that out if you want, because I talk about the future of education. Yeah, and I'm actually giving the same speech, I think. I'm keynoting along with, I can't remember who else is going to be on it, but that'll be later on this year. All right, let me get back on track here. But you can watch that video if you want, just for my thoughts on the future of education. Yeah. Okay, and Pratik is saying, should I use the schedule mentioned in the 30-day challenge book or the schedule which you talk about in your webcasts? Yeah. It depends. Like on the 30-day one, if there's a lot of lessons I teach that might be applicable to you in particular or anybody in particular for that one pager. So I'd probably stick with the one that you use in the 30-day. And if it's not good enough or helpful enough, then in my MBA degree program, I have a higher end one or lower end, more simplistic one, which you can download from harouneducation.com/schedule, all lowercase. And then David is saying, hello, Chris. Hey, man. Hope you're doing well. Pratik is saying, also, please tell me, how did you design that schedule? The schedule, I just designed it myself. Yeah. Everything I teach is from my experience. I don't research other stuff. Like people ask me, when I talk about business plans and business models, people ask me, what do you think of the Canvas approach or Canva approach or whatever it is? I don't even know. Like I just do everything from up in here, which isn't very much, but yeah. And I try to be creative too and have fun with it by leveraging technology and just having fun. Yeah. All right. And a question from cybersecurity is saying, hi, sir, please make a course for book writing. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And if you want, actually, I do actually teach you how to write like a professional journalist. I used to have my own column in Inc. magazine. If you go to my website, harouneducation.com, and download my networking book, it's free. There's part of this here, I tell you how to write like a journalist. And there's a link in here to a video I posted on YouTube on how to write like a professional journalist as well. So I would check that out. Thanks. Okay, next question is from Ramon, who's saying, on top of completing your MBA program, what else would you recommend for me to prepare for? A CFA certification, perhaps? My goal is to help startups have a better chance of doing business. Yeah. So a CFA, I think, is worthwhile if you want to work in the finance industry. And you try to network and you can't get a gig or a job in finance. I don't think you need a CFA stands for Certified Financial Analyst designation. I don't think you need one in order to help startups do better in business. That's what I would say. Yeah. And the next question is, hey Chris, I'm currently taking your fantastic course on business plans. Thank you. I have a question. Is it okay if you don't have a board of advisors? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the point of a board of advisors is to help you with your business model if you need the help, and also to assuage investor concerns if you don't have enough experience. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think you definitely have to have one. Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Vapi, who's saying, hey, Chris, I'm a professional accountant and I'm interested in data analytics and forensic auditing, but I have zero knowledge in programming. Where should I start? Yeah. So what I would do is I would go to Udemy. And by the way, whenever I mention Udemy, it's not like I get brownie points or anything. It's an algorithm. If my courses suck, and a lot of them do, they just won't sell. But what I recommend, and we'll go there together, is go to Udemy. And there's a ton of great data science courses here. So let's go here. Let me go into incognito. All right, let's go to Udemy. And I recommend courses from a guy named Kirill. Here he is. Yeah. He has great courses on data science. Really, really good courses. Machine learning, etc. Yeah. He's awesome. He's a good dude too. So just take courses that are created by Kirill, right? So if you go to his profile here, anything data science oriented, he teaches. He's great. He's great. So I would do that for anything related to data analytics. Now, when it comes to programming in general, you can take his courses. But what I also recommend is that you take courses from Angela Yu, Dr. Angela Yu. Yeah. She's awesome. And she's got the best reviews of anybody on the platform. We have no idea how she does it. She's off the charts. Awesome. But pardon me, take courses on, I would start with her web development bootcamp. It's fun as well. And I'll let the ratings speak for themselves. I'll never get ratings like that. It's amazing. And then you can take more advanced machine learning course from her, as well as other courses on how to make apps. If you're interested, I would start with that. They're priced very low. All courses on Udemy, it's accessible to everybody, and they're fun too. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. You got nothing to lose. Yeah. All right. Next up is Kur is saying Warren Buffett criticizes hedge funds for not outperforming the S&P 500. What are your thoughts on hedge funds since you've worked in one? Yeah. So I think hedge funds are in secular decline. I believe that most hedge funds are really, really bad investments, except for the ones that are longer-term focused, the ones that focus on fundamentals, like Tiger Cubs. And so Julian Robertson's a brilliant man from Virginia. He started a company called Tiger back in the early 80s. And it was great because it was a hedge fund that was long-term focused, right? And you can't make money if you're short-term focused. And what happened was, out of Tiger, a lot of people that used to work there started their own hedge funds, which people call Tiger Cubs. And they share his investment methodology of being long-term focused and focusing on fundamentals and not on technical analysis. So I think aside from those types of funds, most of them are loser investments, hedge funds, that is. And hedge fund performance has gone down a lot. And I believe that if hedge funds are incredibly successful and never lose money any month, then they're criminal institutions like SAC, which was shut down by the government. So I agree with Warren Buffett. I do. The longer the view, the wiser the intention, as Mr. Buffett says. Okay. All right. And then Mike is saying, how's that novel coming? Yeah. Yeah, so I wrote a piece of fiction for my kids. I haven't really marketed it. I think I give it away for free at a bunch of places, though. But yeah. And then next up is greetings from Argentina. Hello, Argentina. Hope you're doing well. And then Manas is saying, when did you launch your MBA Udemy course? Yeah, I launched an entire MBA 1 course back in, was it 2016, I think? Yeah. And then Analogy is saying, hi, Chris. I started one of your courses and I'm enjoying it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. And Andrew Dupree from Toronto, and he's the inverse of me because he's an American living in Canada and I'm a Canadian living in America, in the USA. Andrew is my first student, actually, that was ever accepted to my MBA degree program. He's a platinum student. He's awesome. And he lives in Toronto, but I think he's originally from SoCal, Southern California. Great to have you, Andrew. I'm looking forward to chatting with you too today during our MBA for MBA degree students only office hours. Thank you. Great to have you, bud. And then Mike is saying, and let me just do a quick time check. Hold on one second. Oh, it's 11. Okay, so I'm gonna have to wrap up the call in a minute. Actually, I have to wrap it up right now. I'm so sorry, guys. I gotta jump to my MBA students only office hours. And there's a ton more questions here. I'm so sorry. But if you're in my MBA degree, if you're in my platinum or gold version of my MBA degree program, you can ask me your questions that you have here on the office hours call that will start in 15 minutes for my MBA degree students only. I want to thank you all for your time. This has been fun. It's good to be back. Keep in mind, please, that if you want to apply to the gold and platinum version of my MBA degree program, this Saturday, August 15th, is the last day to apply for early admissions. For more details, just go to my websites. And what I'll do is I'll end this call with a promotional trailer of that. And so God bless you all. Thanks for your time. And I'll see you next Thursday and every Thursday at 8 a.m. my time. Thank you and God bless. Hi, I'm Chris Haroun, and this MBA degree program is not what you think it is. It's better. This program is more than 25 years of business experience, all rolled into one easy-to-access online program. I've sold over 1 million courses in every single country. I've worked at Goldman Sachs. I have an MBA from Columbia University. And I've worked in the venture capital, hedge fund, and consulting industries. I've also started many companies, and my courses have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, CNN, and NBC. If you're ready to nail your next interview, get a better job, get a raise, start that business you've always dreamt of, improve the one you currently run, or better manage your personal finances, then this MBA degree program is for you. I can't begin to tell you how comprehensive this program is. It's got everything, including more than 300 hours of on-demand video. I would have to do one of those dramatic opening title crawls from a certain space movie just to show you. And check out all the amazing reviews from students who have already enrolled in this MBA degree program. And because you can access this program from any device, meaning a desktop computer or a laptop computer or a tablet or even your smartphone, it means you can comfortably fit it into your schedule. Even if you work full time, it's no problem. So if you're ready to unlock the key to your potential, then I'll see you in class.